Call the special meeting to order on March 19th, 2024 at 9:01. I'd like to start with the land acknowledgement. We acknowledge that the town of Winnipeg Beach is located on First Nation Treaty 1 territory through traditional territory and ancestral lands of the Anishinaabe, the Cree, the Ojibwe, the Dene, and the Dakota people, and the homeland of the Métis Nation. We respect the treaties made on these territories. We dedicate ourselves to move forward with Indigenous communities in a spirit of reconciliation and collaboration to make Manitoba an inclusive and accessible place for everyone who lives here.
Be it resolved that the agenda for the March 19th, 2024 special meeting of council be approved as presented.
Can I get a mover, please? Councillor Gendron. Get a seconder, please? Councillor Jarvis. Discussion? All in favor? Carried. Okay, so the first thing on our agenda is bike racks and bike rack safety. This has been on our agenda for some period of time. We've talking about parking and bike racks and patios at the same time because people thought that they were connected to each other in some kind of way. So we'll start the discussion on bike racks. Certainly there has been some concerns about there being a lack of bike racks in town, and we're wanting to encourage active transportation, especially for our cottagers and people who live here. And so it's been suggested that we need more bike racks. So I'd like to open up discussion in terms of some solutions to this. One of the things that I was thinking about was, excuse me, with this wind, my allergies are just going nuts. Last year there was a post on Meanwhile Winnipeg Beach about the fish bike rack, and there was over 450 folks who responded in a positive nature. There was one person who responded in a negative way, but there was over 450 folks who responded in a positive nature from our community, and there was lots of really good suggestions that came out of that. Certainly there were people suggesting to have more of those colorful bike racks throughout town. There were some people who suggested that we have other kinds of animals or insects, having fish fly bike racks, butterfly bike racks, and those kinds of things. There were some businesses who said that businesses and individuals who said that they would like to sponsor some of those bike racks throughout our community. That it might be a good tourist attraction on the one hand. Secondly, they would be pretty. And third, it would answer our need for bike racks. I've been thinking about that and thinking it might be actually a really good idea. We have a number of artists that live in this area, and wouldn't it be interesting if we did a call out to the artists in the area and had them come up with different prototypes for different kinds of animals or insect kinds of bike racks. Ask people to sponsor them and get the kids from school to paint them up. Maybe even apply for some grants to cover some of the costs. That's certainly one of my ideas I'd like to throw out there, but I'd like to open this up to a discussion with other folks to see what your thoughts are. Anybody? Councillor Kozlowski and then Councillor Gendron.
Yeah, I would think bike racks are needed. I would like to go probably partners maybe with the province, see we can utilize their space for bike racks throughout the parks, which is definitely needed.
Yeah.
Especially when the bandstand is going, and people are coming with their bikes, scooters, e-bikes, whatever, and parking spot for them as well, and lessen also on our parking downtown, as we are very limited with our parking. I love the idea with the different colors, with the fish that's in front of one of the restaurants. But what I do have trouble with, and I'm sure that people would agree, is the safety concerns when a bike rack is placed on the sidewalk or near the sidewalk, and you can't get by with a stroller, a wheelchair, somebody trips on them, etc., which has happened in the past. But the bike racks is definitely needed in the beach.
Okay. And, yeah, we certainly have a number of spots. I'd like to see some bike racks over at the rec center, curling club, Legion area, over by Park Place, the post office, the general store, bandstand, maybe on the main streets, a few places for sure. Councillor Gendron.
I agree with Councillor Kozlowski. We need to be partnering with the province. I don't know about us necessarily being responsible for purchasing bike racks for the province. If it comes down to bike racks being purchased, I would like to see the province stepping up and supplying bike racks for the park area. But certainly if we go the route of having local businesses or, having a contest or whatever and people are donating bike racks, absolutely partnering with the province to get their approval for bike racks to be placed. I did ask the CAO at the time when we had this discussion, had there been any formal complaints to the office about the safety of the bike rack that is in front of Trebles? At the time, the answer was no. Have there since been that you can recall?
Not that I'm aware of.
So there's been no public has not brought it to the town's attention that there was a safety issue there.
Not that I've seen that there was any issue.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Hill.
Yeah, I'm in favor of bike racks for sure. The thing I'm not, I'm not in favor of is a bike rack blocking any pathway whatsoever. With the bike rack in question, rather than having the bikes again going into the pathway, if they were mounted parallel with the rack, yes, you get less bikes in, but this way the bikes are parallel and they're not blocking any of the pathway. Just like the ones you see in Gimli, just like the ones you see in City Winnipeg. They're one pole with a circular unit that allows two bikes to go against it, and you lock them up and they're with the road. So there's no way you can trip over them no matter what. Now, maybe nobody phoned and complained about tripping over the bikes, but until somebody falls and smashes their face, we're probably not going to hear about it. So I think we should be preventative and get ahead of it. But again, if we're going to permit bike racks along the pathway or along the sidewalk, they should be in parallel with the sidewalk. That's my thought for sure.
However, that's one bike rack. If Dairy B, other places along Main Street want to put up a bike rack, if they have a patio license, then they can have the bike rack there without any problem.
Well, as long as the bike rack is again not blocking the pathway, I think that would be fine.
Oh, sorry. Councillor Jarvis.
I'm not against bike racks, and I've never been against bike racks, and I'm not against the fish bike rack. There's two bylaws, one being the traffic bylaw, and it says right in there that bicycles aren't allowed on the sidewalk, but motorized scooters are. So and motorized scooters are not allowed on the street, so ergo they have to be on the sidewalk. So if you're mobility compromised and you have an electric scooter or whatever, the seated ones, then you have to be on the sidewalk. The traffic bylaw says you cannot impede 5 feet of the sidewalk. The patio bylaw says that you need 7 feet unobstructed. Now, again, as Councillor Houle suggested, just turn it 90 degrees and you'll be able to get the bikes in properly and people will be able to get by. I don't care if there's 20 bike racks on Main Street. What I care about is that you can't suddenly be halfway down the street and then you have to go back to where you came from because you can't get by. So if they want to have the bike rack, or anybody wants to have a bike rack, go for it, but you need at least 5 to 7 feet on either bylaw to put the bike rack where you want to put it. And in the past, and we all remember the bike racks before we destroyed them with the snowplow, were on the gravel road. They were on the other side of Main Street. And people would park and lock their bike there, and then they would go to the arcade, or there they would go anywhere.
Those are the bike racks that the park put in.
Apparently, I don't know. We used to, I don't know who they were.
Okay. So, okay.
We hit them with a snowplow. Somebody did.
Okay.
Yeah, and since then, we've never had them. And so now they just indiscriminately put their bikes anywhere. So I'm all for bike racks. I don't really care. I have it, the more the merrier. However, we still need, and we're an age-friendly community. You can't have somebody go halfway down the street and then they can't get by. And if they're in a scooter or they're with a walker or something like that, heaven forbid that anybody should. That sidewalk is horrendous by itself. All on its own. Don't put any obstacles there and you can trip on that sidewalk.
So what that means is that if a restaurant owner or a business wants to have a bike rack in front of their business that is more than two that are parallel, then they'll have to have a patio license. That takes them out to the curb, and then their 7 feet is from there to the rubber curbs. Councillor General.
Patio license blocks the sidewalk, so if a business wants to have a bike rack in front of their, patio license gives them the entitlement to be using the sidewalk to the street. And it was pointed out that the fencing is only a requirement for establishments with liquor licenses.
Yeah.
So we need bike racks. It doesn't make sense as a bike user myself, who bikes downtown, to have to park my bike to hell and gone and then walk into downtown. It defeats the purpose of allowing people to cycle into town to do business, to use restaurants. So we need to find a way to.
Okay. Have bike racks. Councillor Jarvis.
Patio licenses don't block the sidewalk. There's two types. There's one, if you want to extend your patio fence to the curb, you must have an extended sidewalk of minimum 7 feet. So we have to extend. If you don't, and we've had them in the past, and you come 7 feet, your patio fence has to end 7 feet from the curb. So that gives you 7 feet of space. So you could have a patio and still have 7 feet of legitimate town sidewalk to go on.
Right, but the patios that we have, they go to the curb and then
But
it's
they need an extended sidewalk.
Yeah.
Right.
So, yeah, if anybody wants to have a bike rack in front of their
Right,
business.
but the patio itself doesn't block the sidewalk because we create another sidewalk
That's
right
right.
beside it.
So then they have the curbs.
Right, but if you have a patio license and you don't have a patio and you want to block the existing one with a bike rack, go ahead, but you still need an extended sidewalk to do that.
Yeah, with the rubber curbs.
Right.
Yeah, it's not a big deal. So we could have the whole front street.
Exactly.
The patios and bike racks on the whole
Exactly,
sidewalk.
but the
and
bike
then
rack
rubber
in
curbs.
question there was never an extension of the sidewalk there. The people would park against the curb, the bike rack was there, and people couldn't get past it.
So we're not here today to talk about that one issue. We're here to talk about what we want to do about bike racks in our community.
I understand that.
Okay, so let's get to that.
Then let's get to
Councillor
it.
Gendron.
I would like to propose a solution, which is that we just extend our sidewalk right down Main Street. That will then allow businesses to put a bike rack in front of their business if they so choose. Still requiring them to apply for a patio license, but then there's none of this on, off, on, off, on, off.
Okay. What do other people think about that?
Are we needing to build ramps at that point?
Well, that's the way it was a couple of years ago, eh? Up until last year, it was always the rubber curbs were all the way down Main Street, and there was no question about it. And so that certainly is a way to go, for sure. Okay, so what do we want to do about getting bike racks in our community? It was one idea that I floated. Do other people have other ideas? Councillor Gendron.
Councillor Jarvis had floated the idea of applying for a grant. Is that still
That's
in?
closed, that March 15th, that closed.
Okay.
Yeah, anything that we do, we can certainly be applying for grants. The BSC grant, we can be, there's grants we can be applying for.
Okay.
Councillor Gendron.
Sorry, would this be an opportunity for Peter's involvement and Peter to try and get some community engagement with regard to ideas on bike racks and soliciting?
Well, I think that there needs to be, I'll let Sharon answer that, of course, you get to have your own opinion, but I think that there needs to be some direction from council first. So, are we wanting to promote some bike racks in our town? Are we wanting to go for some colorful tourist attraction kinds of things? Are we wanting to involve our artists to get something happening that's going to be unique to our community? Or are we just wanting to go and get the regular standard blue bike racks? How many do we need? Where do we want them? We need to be making those kinds of decisions.
And to answer that, no, this would not be until there's a directive of council looking at running some sort of initiative that requires community engagement. I would not be looking at putting this particular mandate on the tourism, economic development, and community engagement manager. There has to be some directive of council, and if it is a directive where there's a level of community involvement, whether running a contest, whether running whatever it is, at that point, that's when he would be involved.
Sorry, and that was what I was thinking. Is that an option at the end of recommendations? Is sort of more what I was asking. Not getting him involved immediately, but would this be something that might fall under Peter if that's the direction we wanted to take, was either getting local artists involved or a contest or any of that? So.
If there was a contest involved or something of that nature, yes. Other than that, my response would be no.
Okay.
Peter is not involved with your Memorial Bench program. He's not involved in the Boardwalk Brick program, and so I caution council of dumping a decision onto staff. So there has to be some when we're looking at this initiative. I mean the items we have to be looking at addressing, which comes from staff, is what level of monetary contribution is council wanting to see with this project? What's the implementation when we look at demand? Where are we looking at this? So again, the sidewalks have become an issue. So there needs to be some firm commitment as to what's happening. So the whole reason why we removed rubber curbs and only placed rubber curbs in front of businesses where there were patios, because that posed a problem. So if we're moving back to placing rubber curbs throughout the entire Main Street, I would say that we have to look a little further than that and say, okay, how do we proper signage? What kind of ease of access can we provide to people to recognize that this is now the sidewalk and the real sidewalk is closed? And those are not decisions that I feel are appropriate for staff to be making. It's as the governance is what you want to see, we will make happen, right?
Councillor Hull.
I almost think that the extended sidewalk should be used for bikes, and the sidewalk should remain a sidewalk. And then maybe we can have the bike racks on that new curb area. Is that a possibility, or?
Whatever council would like to see happen,
Yeah.
Councillor Holt, is what we will make happen.
Yeah, this way if you're riding your bike, down the street, and you want to park it onto the sidewalk, you can have that safe space between the curb and the rubber curb, and still leaving the main sidewalk open.
It's a good idea. I'm just wondering, how would we secure the bike rack to make sure it doesn't get stolen?
Right into the street.
We can do that?
Yep.
Does that hurt our street?
No, it's,
Curb blocks are the same.
So the issue though is the patio at that point,
curb
because
blocks are doing this.
people will be blocking off unless council says no patios, But then if patios are taking the sidewalk,
So if a place, so, yeah, I see, we'll get you in a minute, Councillor Jarvis. But if, say Shenanigans has they always have their patio right to the curb, and then if they want a bike rack there, then we're gonna have a problem
No sidewalk.
with no sidewalk at all.
Yeah, well, I guess we gotta communicate with them and see what their plan is too. I mean, it would just be nice to come right off the street, right into a bike rack area.
Mhm.
You know, just flow of traffic, keeping pedestrians further away from moving vehicles. That's my thought.
Councillor Jarvis.
That actually was done about, I'll say 4 or 5 years ago, where a business on Main Street had used the extended curb for bike racks and had 2 of them there. So, and then there were in the past, going back again to like 2017, where people would use their fence, they would allow people to, because the fences were secured, they would allow people to chain, if you were going out to Shenanigans patio, then you would chain your bike to the side of the patio. And I never heard any feedback from that.
Okay. So where do we want to go from here? And those are some of the things that have happened in the past. Where do we want to go from here in terms of the bike racks? Councillor Jarvis.
Well, I think your suggestion was for sponsorship of bike racks?
Well, I think the community was very excited about having the idea of creative, colorful bike racks throughout the community, and there's lots of people. There were some businesses that came forward, there were some individuals that came forward that said that they would like to sponsor one of those kinds of racks if we had a little sign on it saying donated by or whatever. And so there certainly was a lot of momentum for that kind of stuff. I think in terms of tourist attraction, those kinds of things, it might be, you know, a fun thing for people to come out and see if we have all these different kinds of insects or colorful animals or whatever that are also bike racks. It sort of makes it a bit of a destination. And I think that there would be ways of getting sponsorship, especially if we, you know, and I haven't talked to Kevin, I haven't talked to the post office, I haven't talked to any of those places, but, you know, maybe if we were putting one in front of Park Place, Kevin might say, okay, well, I'll kick in for half that cost. Or we can talk to the park and get some over by the bandstand, and the parks might come in for half cost. We would have individuals who might come in and want to sponsor. And it would be a way of getting community involvement and ownership of their town. If we have artists, you know, put in different prototypes and have people, you know, decide which ones they want to have in front of their businesses. I don't know, it would make it a community involvement kind of thing. That's what I would like to see, unless somebody has some other ideas or some reasons why they don't want to see it happen.
How do we promote it?
How do we promote it?
Like a letter to the business owners, or
Yeah,
can we send it out like in some way, shape, or form?
Yeah, we could put up notices, we can put it on Facebook, we can contact some of the local
Like
artists.
some of the ones that Councillor Houle had suggested, they're present in Gimli, and they have plaques on them. It says sponsored by, and then there's a Gimli logo. So, and it's not a bad idea.
Okay, Councillor Gendron.
Councillor Jarvis, I know you had done some checking in. Can you just give me a rough idea of what the bike racks you were looking at were costing?
I'm gonna say 529, 6 bikes.
Okay.
Approachable for either side. Okay, so you can put 3 on one, 3 on the other, you put 6 on one side, and they can be fastened into concrete or just standalone, and they're $529. But the gentleman that I spoke with would give I'll say a discount. I'm not going to say reasonable, but you would get a better price on volume. So if you ordered 6 or 8 or 10, then you would get a better price.
Okay.
So roughly, because I had them under $3,000 for 6 bike racks, and that would have been 36 bikes.
So that's certainly I would think, an affordable price, either on a cost share with businesses or businesses that might want to outright sponsor or advertise on them or whatever. I was just kind of curious about what price. So I'd like to see us going forward with the idea of promoting cost sharing of them or outright donation of them.
There would be certainly a different price point if we went for some of the decorative.
Yeah.
Colorful ones versus.
Yeah.
Versus these,
Yeah.
and so that's, I think, a decision we have to make and then go forward.
And perhaps a combination of the two. I know that price goes up with the elaborate, colorful.
Yeah, I've got a phone call actually into the person, I think I tracked down the person who made it in Selkirk.
Okay.
And she said she would investigate to find out how much it was. And she said that her husband is the one who actually built.
Welded.
Yeah, I guess
Yeah.
it's welded the fish. And he has a bunch of material left over for another couple. She hasn't gotten back to me in terms of what the price was, but I would imagine, it certainly would be more than $500. I would imagine it'll be $1,000, $1,500, something like that.
I think, community engagement and sort of satisfying two things at once. We need to start doing some things for community engagement and giving the businesses an opportunity to get involved, and members of the public that are bike riders that want to, So I think going ahead with the idea of sponsorship or contest, moving forward in that direction would be beneficial, and the idea of we just, instead, because of the concern of the up and down and the ramps, we have one long extended sidewalk. And businesses that have patios will still have to pay for a patio license, and they'll have to go that route, but then we have opportunities to have bike racks on the main street to support people that want to use active transportation to get around this community.
Other thoughts?
Is it gonna impede our parking with these? And is it gonna be the same way as we did last year where the patios, the rubber curbs are only placed in front of the patios so that we would have more parking throughout the downtown area?
What Councillor Gendron just suggested was that we have rubber curbs from one end of Main Street to the other on this side.
Yeah. So that's gonna affect the parking, correct?
Well, sure.
Yeah. So there's gonna be no parking pretty well downtown on this side.
On this side of the street for those 3
Right.
blocks.
Right.
Which is what it has been actually for the last number of years.
Well, last year it wasn't. Last year, the curbs were only placed in front of the places that had patios, and it opened up a parking quite a bit for that area.
It opened up, 3 or 4 spaces.
Yeah, more than that. All of that, all the way from the hotel, or this side, all the way down south, it opened that whole area, because nobody had curbs there.
Okay,
And vice versa, the same down there.
okay. So what are you suggesting?
Well, I'm just suggesting that it's gonna cut down on your parking area in this area. If we go to the rubber curbs from here, all the way north, that's my suggestion.
Other thoughts? Can we have a final decision about bike racks, please?
Sure.
What's the decision?
What are you looking for?
Let's get some.
A decision about bike racks. What are we doing? What's our final decision on this? Are we gonna
Let's get some.
go with some artists? Are we gonna try and do a contest? Are we just gonna call a bike rack manufacturing place and order 6 or 8 of them? What are we doing?
Were we not going to inquire as to whether business people were okay with sponsoring this or helping at least? I thought we were talking about, we're talking about 2 or 3 different things here. Are we going to close the whole thing down and people can put at their own discretion bike racks? Are we going to do that? Are we going to suggest to other businesses, because bike racks can apply to the grocery store, it can apply to the post office, it can apply to the health clinic, the plaza. So are we going to have them maybe co-sponsor a bike rack for us? Or
That's what I'm asking.
Well-
That we've talked about a number of different
well,
ideas.
why don't we do all of them then?
Okay, so.
Yeah. Why don't we send out a letter to the business community and say, would you like your bike rack? You know, we'll cover half the cost or whatever. But we haven't explored any bike racks and what we're going to pay for them. You know, like some of the larger bike racks can go well up over $1,200, $1,500. You know, like when you get into the 4 to 6, you're gonna be under 500. When you get over 6, like 8 to 12 to 15 bikes, now you're talking over $1,000.
So what do you think we should do?
I think we should approach the business people, and if they're willing, I don't have a problem with co-sponsoring it. You know, like you pay 50, I pay 50, and give them an option. Now, that would put us in a position where they only spend 500, we spend 500, we get an 8 or a 10 bike rack, and then they get a plaque on it and they can paint it whatever they want. If we don't get enough sponsorship and we're 2 or 3 bikes shy, then maybe we need to get 2 or 3 of the 6 bike racks for $500. You know, you could have people that, you know, I'm trying to think of, even the plaza itself has 4 or 5 different businesses that people go to that plaza. They might take an 8 bike rack at 50% we cover, you know what I mean? And put it, and there's plenty of space, because you have a couple of businesses that own vacant land behind them that you can put bike racks on. So, you know, and you could put up a sign across from the washrooms, bike rack, you know? Put them in there, people could, 2 or 3 bike racks, so. I'm putting out a letter, get the business involved, and lots of times this council makes decisions that go right past a business person, and a business person says, well, that negatively affects me. So at least you're pulling them into the decision. So I'm for that. And at the same time, if you're gonna do that, inquire, and the turnaround can be fast. We don't have to wait till May. You know what I mean? Say, we would like to hear it back by April 14th. You know what I mean? And suggest that we've had another suggestion to go with curb blocks right down Main Street. Right, because no matter, and Councillor Kozlowski's right, we can't alienate businesses by taking away parking. It can't be a negative effect. You know, we're trying to solve a problem, and granted, there's a problem with bike racks, but we can't create a problem trying to solve a problem.
My sense is that no matter what we do, there's always gonna be some naysayers. There always will, so we can't make decisions based on, oh, somebody in the community might not like it. We have to figure out what we think is best for our community, short-term and long-term. And no matter what we do, if we put the rubber curbs all the way from north to south, there are gonna be people who are gonna complain. If we don't put the curbs north to south, there are gonna be people who complain. That's just gonna be the way it is. So we just have to make a decision based on what we think is best for our community. So you're suggesting that we put a letter out to businesses to see if anybody wants to co-sponsor. And you're also suggesting that you ask the businesses whether they want 4 or 5 bike rack, or a big blue 10 bike rack, or a colorful animal bike rack, and that the businesses decide.
No, that's not what I said.
Okay.
What I said was, if they are interested in having their name, like Park Place could have.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, and so when you get to a point, if you're gonna buy it, it's 500, but if they're gonna spend 500, and you're gonna spend 500, you can get a better bike rack.
No, I
Yeah.
understand that. So
But-
are you suggesting that we give the businesses the option in terms of what kind of bike rack?
No, from a monetary standpoint, or if you're interested, Jackson's Post Office, if you want a bike rack, how big would you like the bike rack and how much are you willing to spend? Like some of the businesses might say, well, I'm willing to contribute $250. Well, that's a $500 bike rack. But if a business says, look, I'm willing to spend $1,000, or now all of a sudden, oh my God, now you've got a different bike rack. You know what I mean? Like the object is to get bike racks, because they're strewn everywhere.
I understand that. Councillor Holt.
Yeah, I like what you're saying, but I do think that we should have pricing first and foremost. Because I think rather than them just tossing money into the ring, I think they would like to know what they
give them a
would pay.
range.
Yeah.
Say $250, $500, $750.
So let me finish hearing from Councillor Holt. When you said, Councillor Holt, you'd like them to I didn't finish hearing what you were saying.
And price range.
Yeah, I would like them to know what the options are, price-wise, and if we are gonna contribute 50%. So if they know they're gonna get, if they say, listen, we have on average 4 cycles here, or bikes here, they want a 4 bike rack or a 5, that'll cost them X amount of dollars. I think they need to know that to make the investment.
Councillor Kozlowski.
Yeah, I would agree with that also. I'd like to get the businesses involved. Maybe they have a decision that they would like to, whatever kind of bike rack they would like, whether it be a mosquito, another fish, a shark, whatever, and go from there. And not only that, but having an assortment of bike racks as well, other than colored ones. And maybe put some of the plainer ones around the bandstand where people will be watching the bands and bringing their bikes. So we just can't have them on this side. We've got to have them throughout the park as well. And maybe that's where we can put the bike racks that are the 6, the 8, the 10, whatever, the plain blue, black bike racks, whatever. But have them throughout the town.
Councillor Gendron.
I don't believe we have the right to be putting bike racks in the park without consultation with the park. And I also don't necessarily agree that our taxpayers are responsible for putting bike racks in the park. It's a provincial park, and if there's going to be bike racks in the park, the province should be covering that cost, not us. That's my thought.
Councillor Houle.
Well, I guess that's another avenue we should explore too then, is maybe talk to the parks and see how many bike racks they are willing to put in the park. Because that might take away with how many we need down Main Street.
So I have emailed parks if there's a bike rack placement plan for 24 and if they could share. So I'm just waiting for a response on that. Thanks.
So what happens if we put this letter out to businesses asking them if they'd like to sponsor a bike rack and they all say no? Or we don't get a response? Then what's the decision of council? Councillor Gendron and then Councillor Hall?
I don't necessarily think we need to be limiting ourselves to the businesses. I think we need to just go out community-wide. Perhaps contacting the Express and asking them to maybe run an article on our plans and information for individuals that might be interested in sponsoring a bike rack, either businesses or individuals, and go from there. And if we don't get any response, I think we still have a responsibility to be budgeting and putting some bike racks in the community.
Councillor Houle.
Yeah, no, I'm clear now. That's good. She covered it.
You covered it.
So administration, one of the, looking at this type of initiative is looking at placement. And so what are the parameters around placement? So one of the things when we look at any level of sponsorship is people go, oh, I want one here and I want, so is there gonna be some level of controls in place in reference with these, with the placement, how many, where the locations are, similar to the Memorial Bench program?
I would like to suggest that if a business is sponsoring a bike rack, priority is given to it being placed in front of the business. But I also think we need to, in addition to that, make a determination as to where all we want bike racks, or think strategically having them scattered around town so that if it's an individual sponsoring a bike rack, that there are places for them to choose from for where they would like to see it. So we probably do need to narrow down. Councillor Jarvis, did you, sorry, I don't mean to keep picking on you, but you're the one that did a lot of work on this earlier. Did you have some suggested spots for bike racks when you had looked at it earlier?
I thought 3 on Main Street, and that would give you roughly 18 to 20 bikes, 1 in each park, and then 1 like Larry Moore Park and Beachside, and then another one in the footbridge, because there's people. I thought our intention was to create some sort of a picnic area by the footbridge, so
The one that,
On.
that was the route while the bridge was closed? Was that
Yeah,
what you
Laurel,
mean by the-
Laurel and Grove.
So Larry Moore Beachside Footbridge Bridge, I would all, 3 downtown you're suggesting, I would like to also suggest that we have, one by the rec center Legion Curling Club there. I would like to see in terms of businesses, one by Park Place, one by the general store, one in front of here at the office, and one at the post office. Because lots of people ride their bikes to the post office, leave their bikes on the sidewalk and go around to get their mail. Councillor Jarvis?
I was gonna say post office, and you said that, and there is a bike rack in front here.
Mm.
And what about the caboose? Tourist
Oh, the
information,
skate park.
The skate-
tourist information and or skate park.
So we're looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, looking at 12 bike racks. Okay. So are people suggesting that we go with the artist thing?
I'd say get some prices first from them, you know.
Yeah, considering it's taxpayers' dollars, I think we have to be, I mean, it's nice to have fancy artwork, but
Mm-hmm.
also if it's, you know, the price is more than double, I think we have to be reasonable and buy standard bike racks.
Unless a business or a citizen wants to sponsor one,
Yeah,
I
sure.
guess. Councillor Hull? No, you're not Councillor Hull, you're Councillor Jarvis.
He's slightly taller than me.
A little hairier.
And
Yeah.
wider.
There might be a time frame too. Like if we want 3 or 4 that are, and only one person doing it, well, I don't know what the turnaround time is on a bike rack. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah, if we get our last bike rack on August the 28th.
No, I
it's-
understand that.
Yeah, so depending on what this person is capable of doing, because some of these things are also just hobbies and project time.
I guess if we ask the, I mean, I'm not sure how much buy-in we'll get from sponsors and stuff if they're sort of regular bike racks, but we can try. I guess if we try and get the Express to cover this, to get some coverage, we can also mention that if anybody wants a fancy bike rack, that they can contact the office for information.
Or,
I just don't want to squash.
yeah,
Like there was, like I said, there were some businesses who aren't even restaurants, they're not even businesses. I mean, there's some, like the pest control business, there's a few businesses like that saying, hey, I would love to sponsor one in Winnipeg Beach with a little donation sign. And so I don't want to squash that kind of, so there's 4 or 5 people who said that they would love to do that.
so I know when we do the bench program, or we're doing it, we had a business that people were referred to. So would it be acceptable if we got information from this business that has done the one to be able to say, and if you're interested in a more creative artistic bike rack, this is who you would contact for further information before contacting the town about sponsorship? I mean, we went with the sole supplier for the benches, so is there anything, I'm sort of looking at you, Sharon, from is there anything wrong with including one?
No, there's nothing wrong with that, but I'm just trying to get back to basics, council, for a moment.
Yeah.
If we're identifying 12 bike racks,
Yeah.
we're looking at an approximate cost of $5.30 per bike rack on average. That is what we're looking at placing into the budget. Is that correct? Because there may be no sponsor. I don't know if there's going to be sponsorship. I don't know. We don't know what the whole project plan is. But these are the 12 locations we've identified. And so then when we look at something along the lines of Park Place, General Store, Post Office, when we look at location of installation of these bike racks, the same concerns that have been posed on the bike rack on Main Street can be posed for those locations as well. So I'm kind of missing, and there are no patios on these other side streets. There's no buffer zone on Stitt Street. So what does that look like? Like it's,
So I would like to suggest that the post office be approached first, Park Place, anything off of Main Street or that we don't have control over, like the community center, be approached first to ask if they are wanting to participate in this, and do they have a place on their property for us to be able to place it, because we don't have a right of way. If they don't, so for example, if the post office doesn't want it on their grass, then we don't include them. If Park Place says they don't want one, then we don't include them. And then I think what we need to do is prioritize our list, and we can't do all 12 from a budget perspective in 1 year.
No, that's
We need to perhaps make this a multi-year. We set a dollar value in the budget. We go with the sponsorship first. We see what we can afford to do, and from there, because we've got a prioritized list, next phase gets done next year.
Yeah, I was gonna suggest that we not do all 12, maybe we do 6 this year, so we're looking at 12, we're looking at $10,000. And that's expensive. Councillor Jarvis.
There's an intangible. One thing is we don't know how many people don't, and I know it was expressed before by a councillor, that don't ride their bike downtown because there's nowhere to lock their bike up. So that's an intangible. So when we say there's two sides to speaking for all ratepayers. There's also ratepayers that would like to ride their bike downtown, but they have an expensive bike and they have nowhere to put it. When you get off Main Street, when I say to clarify that, like I ride my bike to the post office, or I'll ride my bike to Park Place, because I'm in and out, and I know that, hopefully nobody steals it, but there are places there that you can put bike racks. Like even at the post office, and I put mine in front of the post. They're there. So there's space. So I don't think that we'll have the same problem as Main Street, because they're set back from the sidewalk. If you follow what I'm saying, is that the actual business itself doesn't butt up on the sidewalk like they do on Main Street. So they have an opportunity to recess their bike rack off the sidewalk.
Okay, Councillor Gendron.
And that was my point, was, while there's nowhere to put them, we don't know what Canada Post rules are. There just may be plain old a Canada Post rule that says, no, we can't put a bike rack or anything on their property. So that's all I'm saying, is any of the businesses that are off of Main Street, or not the community center Legion area, before we even entertain them being on our list of potential places for a bike rack, we need to make sure that they've got a spot on their property that they're willing to allow the bike rack to go.
Councillor Jarvis.
And to further what Councillor Hull had said, there are single and double bike racks that can run parallel to the sidewalk. And so some of these places, we actually have a boulevard that's town property, and you could put one. So example, you can get 2 bikes to go here, and just boom, boom, they're locked up, and people can go where they want to. So there are options available. We don't have to have the 6 or 8 or 12 bike rack. We can get a 2 bike rack for a much cheaper price. And it still provides an opportunity for somebody to ride their bike downtown.
Other comments? So our final decision is, are you clear on it?
I would be asking for clarification. What I'm understanding right now, administration is to send a letter to all the businesses in reference to this initiative. Is that correct, Council?
Yeah.
Seeing if they are wanting to participate, and if so, am I asking for the size that they want to participate in? Am I providing them costs based on Blue Imp, or what? Like, when we send a letter of participation, what would you like me to include, Council, so you have this?
Councillor Jarvis.
I think Councillor Cool suggested it with the price range. Like if we say a 2 bike rack is 300, so 150, give them a 150 range. If a 6 bike rack is 500, give them a 250 range, and up to say 500, which is 1,000. And we will cover the other half of that. At least that way we're giving them a dollar range. So you can, a 150, a 250 or $500 contribution will get you to sponsor a bike rack in your area. And I think Councillor Gendron suggested that it would be wrong if we put somebody's bike rack over in Larry Moore Park and they were a business downtown. So we want to get them as close as we can as to their business.
Councillor Gendron, then Councillor Kozlowski.
I would like to see us make a decision on the size of the bike racks on Main Street. I think it sort of defeats the purpose if we allow a business to say, I'd like a 2 bike rack in front of my business.
Mm-hmm.
Because we're not just having these bike racks to draw people to the businesses. People that come to the bandstand would like to park their bikes. So I would like to see us establishing the size of the bike racks ourselves, and that we have different levels of sponsorship. The level of sponsorship determines the size of the recognition on the bike rack. Because if somebody's willing to have a large advertising plaque on the bike rack, if they can pay for it all, then let's give them that option. Let's say a bronze sponsorship is, just throwing numbers out there, just for example, a bronze sponsorship is 30% of the cost, a silver sponsorship is 50%, and a gold sponsorship is 100% of the cost of the rack, and it determines the size of the advertising they get on the bike rack.
Yeah, and also the specific type of bike rack that they want. If they want, a crocodile or whatever, crow's head or
No,
whatever on there, just like the fish,
no.
If you want to make it all colorful and everything too, like you say, the one in front of Troubles,
Right, but
which I have no problem with either.
But I think that what we're talking about right now is getting the regular bike racks from Blue Imp.
Well, you wanted to have a letter go out to the business saying, what would you like here? And this is what we're recommending to you, or do you want something different than we're proposing? And you pay for it.
I think that what we're talking about right now is only having an article in the Express to people saying that if they would like to sponsor a colorful animal bike rack, that they can go to the bike rack place themselves to get that happening. But for us, we're doing the Blue Imp bike rack, which is just a regular blue bike racks, and asking businesses if they want to sponsor 30, 50, or 100%. I think that that's where we're at right now, although correct me if I'm wrong, Council.
Yeah,
Or you just want the regular blue bike racks?
Well, I'd like to see the other, colorful tourist attraction-y kinds of things. I would like to see that.
Oh, why not we give them the option on what they want?
Because in order to do the colorful thing, that means a whole lot of other work. That means we have to get a hold of artists, we have to figure out prototypes. The people who make the bike racks don't do that part. They would need a prototype from us or from somebody. So that means a different kind of work.
Yeah, I'm just wondering too, is there anything online there, anybody in Winnipeg or Manitoba does this work, or have we investigated anything further to that?
No.
Nothing at all.
Councillor Ho.
Could we not just go with a standard, flat, parallel bike racks and put them all down Main? Like, wouldn't that be the easiest than going 2, 4, 6, 8 sponsorships and I don't know. I'm just wondering if it just makes more sense to have the parallel style bike racks and have many of them. It just erases a lot of problems. And if the park wants to put in bike racks across the way, even better.
What do other people think of that? Councillor
Yeah,
Kozlowski?
once again, I do think we need bike racks in that park. We have to converse with the park.
I know, but what do you think about Councillor Coole's suggestion right now?
Yeah, it's okay.
Councillor Jarvis?
I'm good with that, but I do think we need some of the businesses like Plaza, Park Place, they might need more than single units. You know what I mean? So if all down Main Street you do, I don't have a problem, you put 10 on each side and fasten them in and you got 20 bikes there. You might need a 2 bike rack at the post office, you might need a 6 bike rack at the rec center. You know, like you still, because more people are coming to that. But I like the idea, and I like the idea of sponsorship too.
How much are they?
Well, it all depends what you're looking at. And that's just, you'd have to research it, right?
Right. 3 to 5.
I just don't know if the individual ones are gonna be sufficient for what we're trying to address here, which is allowing people en masse to come bring their bikes downtown and have a safe place to lock them, as opposed to having bike racks, multiple bike racks down Main Street.
Okay. Okay.
Which is, well, I'm sorry, but I thought that was the direction this conversation was going in. Was multiple bike racks down Main Street, having the rubber curb down so that we can place them all the way down Main Street in the town where it's our taxpayers paying for it, and not local business support or individual support, and not spending taxpayers' money to put them in the park. And so I thought that was where this conversation was going.
Mm-hmm. And, okay, Councillor Jarvis?
Yeah, I've seen some confusion. I don't want anything to do with the park. Okay, like, the park is the park is the park. So whatever I talk about is the town of Winnipeg Beach.
Mm-hmm.
If you go to Gimli, and you'll see, even across from the theater, I'll exaggerate, there's gotta be 50 of these double-sided bike racks that are, and like, there's 2 in front of the theater.
I know.
You know what I mean? So they're everywhere, and it says Gimli, it's got a little Gimli beach scene, boat scene on it. And when you go to Gimli Park, where they put the amphitheater and that, there's a truckload of them there too. And they actually look, they're painted up well, and I provided a picture to Sharon on a couple of them. And I don't have a problem with that idea, either or. I'm multiple bike racks or I'm individual bike rack, but we need bike racks and we need to get
Yes, I think that we've all agreed that we need bike racks for sure. And we also need to make a decision, because we've been like an hour at this already. We just need to make a decision. Councillor Hull?
Just to be clear, I didn't say that we put bike racks in the park. I'm hoping the park will supply their own.
Oh, no, that wasn't,
Yeah.
no,
No, I know.
and that wasn't in anything
Yeah.
you said. It was about the earlier conversation. I was trying to figure out what path we were on with this discussion, that we don't put bike racks in the park, when you do those individual ones, and you've got 2 bikes going this way, or you've got a bike rack going this way that holds 5 or 6 bikes, the multiple bike rack, as far as taking up space, is going to allow far more bikes down Main Street than going with those individual ones that hold just one on either side.
Okay. Can we then make a decision that we spend up to, I don't know, $5,000 on bike racks this year? Can we make a decision that we contact businesses to let them know that we want to be putting bike racks out throughout town in front of businesses, active transportation, all of that kind of stuff? And if they would like to sponsor, they get a 30% bronze, 50% silver, or 100% gold plaque on the bike rack by their business with their name advertising that. Can we say that much? Are people okay with that?
I'm good with that, yeah.
And then we will take it from there in terms of ordering the bike racks that we need. And if no businesses step forward, then we will buy however many bike racks we can buy with $5,000 in our budget this year. And we'll have to put money into our budget next year for more bike racks. Does that make sense? And maybe we can contact Patricia from the Express and invite, I don't know how that's gonna get complicated, because then we need to have artist prototypes and all those kinds of things, so I'm not even sure what to do with that. Councillor Chair?
Just two other things that the rubber curbing will be right down Main Street to accommodate this. And then we need to set a priority because we have a limited amount of money to be spending. So I would like to suggest that Main Street is our first priority. Second priority is the community center.
I would like to say third priority is Larry Moore Park. Lots of kids use Strollaway Park.
So then, okay, so next priority would be Larrymore Park and Beachside Park. And then the last priority is businesses off of Main Street. And that is if we're doing 100% replacement. If a business off Main Street steps up and says, I'll sponsor 50%, then they would be included before anything that we have to pay 100% for. Sound good?
Sure. And I would like to also suggest if there are any artists out there who are listening to this, God, help you, or have any friends who are artists who are listening to this, and you're sitting there thinking, oh, I can just think of this prototype right now. It would be wonderful if we had a fish fly prototype bike rack. Please contact me, and we'll figure that part out. Is that it with the bike racks? Sharon, do you have enough to go on?
Sure.
Sorry, one other question. Does this then require an amendment to our traffic bylaw?
No? Why?
No?
I read the whole thing, I didn't see it.
There's nothing in there about restricting
No, and
sidewalks?
the only
Okay.
thing it ever says is 5 feet of sidewalk.
Okay, thank you.
Then why did we take a 5-minute break before our next agenda item? Is that okay with folks?
Again, it's too late to make it difficult on yourselves.
We pull up the different bike racks they got on Google.
Oh, I was looking on here, we're still online.
Yeah, some of them are pretty sharp. There's ones too where you line them up where you put the back wheel and the front wheel goes up in the air.
Yeah.
So you're not taking up much space.
Should I just put the logo?
Sure. Down to the vision of Main Street.
That's right.
Back on?
Yep, you're on.
Thanks.
So how many folks looked at the Main Street revitalization? It's freezing out there. The Main Street revitalization proposal plan from January 2022. People take a look at that. Councilor Jarvis? Did you look at the Main Street revitalization proposal plan?
I sure did.
Okay, so we're looking at parking, we're looking at patios, we're looking at bike racks. Then let's take a look at this too, as opposed to looking at what the vision is for Main Street. And in the initial plan, there were, this person who presented this plan to council had asked for input from the community, and there were about 30 or so responses, with lots of people endorsing this plan, as well as long as we took into consideration handicap parking on the side streets. Councillor Gendron.
This was actually a delegation at council, so there is no need to not include the name of the individual that presented it. It was presented publicly. It was not just something sent to council. So I would just like Cynthia Jones to be sure to get credit for all the work that was done on this.
Okay. So her suggestion, if you'll see figure 4 there and figure 5, is making Main Street much more welcoming, taking the vehicular traffic off of Main Street, and opens up Main Street for buskers, for picnic tables, for patios, for walking, for bike racks, for anything that you want, and it attracts people to the downtown area. It is based on the Dutch Crow infrastructure design principles. And then we have the side streets are all handicap parking that we actually enforce. You have your outdoor seating, you have your street kiosks. What do people think about that? Thoughts? Councilor Gendron?
Well, we just, part of the delay was we did take a walk down to Main Street, and we're looking at placements for bike racks. I would like to see vehicular traffic on Main Street closed during the summer months, July and August. Handicap parking on the side streets, so that we are still making our downtown area easily accessible to individuals with physical challenges. And I just think it's a start to perhaps revitalizing the downtown area, bringing more summer type businesses to the area. A lot of what we hear is the downtown, the downtown, the downtown. I think this would be a good start to revitalizing things in that area.
What do other people think? Councillor Houle?
I'm not in agreement with closing the downtown to traffic, but I am in agreement for more handicap spots. That's certainly been people's concerns for me,
Yeah.
towards me,
For sure.
so.
Yeah, for sure we need more handicap spots no matter what we do. So you don't like the, you're not in agreement with the Main Street revitalization program?
I'm not in agreement with closing off the street.
Councilor Jarvis?
I have one question. This is is it a permanent structure, so in January it's there, or does this get disassembled every October 1st?
I would imagine it gets disassembled every October 1st.
That's one question.
What do you think of the proposal?
I'd like to, I've spoken about the downtown, forever. I'd like to be the last guy to talk about it. Because I have a vested interest, so. I see advantages, I see disadvantages. It always looks like I lead people into a certain idea. It's not my intention.
No, I get that, but you get to have an opinion too.
Pardon?
I said, I get that, but you get to have an opinion as well.
Well, I've been pretty opinionated about downtown. I don't think I've ever held back.
Right, but about this particular proposal.
My only, if it's not permanent, then that's an advantage. But my only real concern would be how much does it cost us to do this? We're not in it, we're trying to work $5,000 worth of bike racks into a budget. And how long, or when would this be completed? And what if we initiate a program and then there's a different council and it kind of gets lost in the detail that was originated, so.
Well, I guess we take that risk no matter what we decide here is a
Yes,
different
no,
council.
this isn't a bike rack anymore, you're shutting down whole Main Street and taking vehicular traffic away from it.
Yeah, you're taking vehicle traffic away. I don't see that there's gonna be a lot of building or anything the first few years. What I would see is tables and chairs out there, people being able to bring kiosks in for buskers, those kinds of things, having your active transportation down there. And maybe with more people down there walking up and down Main Street, you'll have more interest in people buying some of the businesses up to be revitalizing our downtown.
Well, it seems it's a 180-degree turn from and when I say what we originally discussed, and we even had call it a meeting with the business people regarding downtown parking, and I'm gonna go 50-50 said, don't shut down Main Street. And now we're taking, because they already had a parking problem, and now we're saying, well, we're gonna take 40 stalls right out of there. You know what I mean? So if they had a problem before, then they're really gonna have a problem now. So I think it's a great idea. I don't know if we're, when I say it's a heck of an idea. However, I don't know if that's where we need to be right now. Like it seems like a complete 180-degree turn. We've got a lot of things that we're trying to solve down there, and we're trying to attract business. We're dealing with some, how do I put this? We're dealing with problems and concerns that are no fault of our own. You know what I mean? With reference to a beach, like we're one of the few communities that we don't have that beach. We butt up against a provincial park.
Right, exactly.
Okay, so and what I don't want to do, because in the past, and I've known this, and I've only been here 20 years, but is that we constantly combat cottagers against residents. You know what I mean? And I don't want to be one of those guys that we constantly pander to the summer crowd. You know what I mean? To bring people in, because there are people that live here 12 months of the year.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Councillor Who?
If we're going to sort of start watching the parking now and ticketing, et cetera, why wouldn't we just have more areas where there are 15-minute parking and more handicap parking, that sort of thing, so the turnover's a little better as well?
Okay. So at this point, from our walk downtown where we froze, we're looking at bike racks. We're looking at $5,000 worth of bike racks, is that what we said?
Yeah.
We're looking at bike racks that hold 5 or 6 bikes, and we'll figure out the placement of them, but we realize that we can attach them to the trees, we can attach them to the lampposts all the way down Main Street. So if we get, I would imagine we'd be able to get 8, for $5,000, 8 bike racks anyways. Minimum. And so and if they each hold 4 or 5, we can have up, 34 and 32 to 40 spaces for bikes. We can put that down Main Street. We're looking at doing the rubber curbs down Main Street. And then Councillor Houle, you're suggesting on the other side, having lots of 15-minute parking for people who want to stop and get ice cream or go to Garriock or drop into the mall to pick something up. 15-minute parking on the other side of Main Street, as well as handicap parking.
Yeah, but I mean, again, I wouldn't say every stall would have to be 15-minute. I would just say we can offer some areas that are 15-minute to have that turnaround of traffic.
Okay.
You know, if somebody's working at Garriock and needs to park all day, you know, we sort of have to provide them that, or
Right, they have to park behind the building, working there. So you're talking about some 15-minute parking spots, and we had talked before about the 2-hour parking spots on Main Street that we enforce, ticket and tow. Is that what we're talking about? On Main Street, 15-minute parking spots and 2-hour parking spots, ticket and tow? And handicap?
again, I'm open. I'm just throwing stuff out there to see what people
I
think.
get that. Councillor Gendron.
We have been very wisely advised by our CAO about if you're gonna make a change, you have to be able to enforce it. And I'm not sure, while I love the idea of the 15-minute parking so that people can come in and out of businesses, that may be a little bit difficult to enforce. 2-hour is a lot more probably reasonable to be able to enforce. So, I mean, if we do the 15-minute and then where it gets out that, well, you know, they're not really doing anything about the 15-minute, it almost seems like a waste. 2-hour, definitely, ticket and tow. I'd like to see us go with that. I think that might be a good start to help out the businesses as far as, you know, turnover being able to happen. So I guess if I'm the only one who's thinking about shutting down Main Street, and it's not, you know, it's not something others are in support of, I definitely like to see us moving forward with that 2-hour ticket in tow. And absolutely, we need to increase our number of handicap spots, as well as I would like to see beach drop-off spots. For those that are coming with small kids and things, not having to park way back.
What do other people think about making Main Street ticket and tow?
I
Councillor Kozlowski?
disagree with ticket and tow.
Just wait a minute, Councillor
Yeah, I
Kozlowski
think
first.
we'd have a problem with that, although it's great in theory. You need somebody there to ticket the cars. And once you tow them, how are the people gonna go get their vehicle? There are no buses here, there's no taxis. They're gonna have to rely on somebody to take them from Winnipeg Beach to Gimli or to wherever the tow truck company is. And I think that's gonna be a big problem. I think you're gonna have a problem with people not adhering to their rules, people not paying their fines. And I think it's gonna be a big problem if we put signs up, whether 5-minute parking, half-hour parking, 40-minute parking. And I know the opposite is true too. These people come here and they park all day. You know, they're at 8 o'clock in the morning till 8 at night.
I know.
And nobody else can get a parking spot. You go the other way with the towing, and tow the people away. Well, once again, they're not gonna be able to go and retrieve their vehicles. How are they gonna get there? Get from Winnipeg Beach to Gimli to get their vehicle. And that's a big problem. And that's gonna pee off people. Now, is that gonna lessen the people coming from Winnipeg or wherever to visit our beach? You know how word spreads, you're gonna get towed. We got no way to go get our vehicle.
Well, we could get signs up saying ticket and tow is enforced, and there's free parking right there. There's free parking right there.
Again, that only holds so many. There's lots of cars here on specific, you know, on our, on different days to watching the bands. It's packed around here, and they're parking in the schools here. They're parking everywhere. It's parked all the way down to Elm Street to the railway tracks,
I
you know,
understand.
right to Elm East.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, it's a big problem, and,
It
you
absolutely
know,
is. a
have we
big-
got a solution to this, you know?
Well, that's what we're
Well, I
here to
know,
decide is
But
what
one
kind of
solution leads
solution.
into something else, though.
Yeah, it does. There's
Okay.
not gonna be a perfect solution,
Yeah,
for
with
sure.
this, you put up 20-minute parking and tow, how do I go get my vehicle? It's gonna pee people off and they're not gonna come back.
Councillor General,
Actually, Councillor Jarvis was next.
Councillor Jarvis.
We have in our traffic bylaw a clause that allows property owners to secure 2 parking spaces downtown. You're aware of that, right?
Okay,
Yeah, like example being, it goes, whatever, name, operating a business name, request permission of the town of Winnipeg Beach to operate for the purpose of customer parking the following section of municipal property as described here too.
okay.
It goes on and on. So really, every business theoretically could apply for 2 parking spots on Main Street.
I understand that.
Okay, and then there's already a copious parking concerns on Main Street.
Yep.
You know, west side of Mary Hamilton Avenue, 2-hour parking, 9 AM to 6 PM, June 1st, August 31st. Not a single parking sign on the west side of Main Street. Not a single 2-hour parking, don't have 1-ton truck, not a single sign.
Right, because we have not been able to enforce it up until now.
Right.
So I think it was because you had brought this to council months ago that we need to deal with the parking downtown because of what Councillor Kozlowski said. People come at 8 o'clock in the morning, park their cars there all day, whether we have signs or not. And then with businesses, people can't access the businesses. So we know that the problem exists. The question becomes, what do we as council want to do about it? So what do you think about the ticket and
Well,
tow?
I was against ticket and tow from the get-go, and for the same reasons that Councillor Kozlowski. It's like slapping them, you know, slapping it down. We've got so many things going on with the parking that I think that if we go right to immediately penalty, you know, we electrocute somebody for parking on Main Street, I just think that's just wrong.
Okay, so what do you suggest we do?
Right now, I mean, frankly, I'd like to deal with the patios, and I'd like to deal with the bicycle racks, and then eventually come back to parking. But I can't see us. Honestly, I don't think we're going to resolve this parking issue today. I don't think we're going to resolve it next week. I think we had, again, 50-50 at the meeting that we had with the business owners. We still haven't had any residential input, and we still haven't had any ratepayer input on that. For us to go ahead, and I think just demonstrated in council that we have about 2 or 3 different opinions here. I think we need to fix what we can right now at hand, and then I think this is going to be and we suspect it, a bigger conversation. There's so much even in the parking bylaw. There's 15 pages of infractions in there. We have to really digest that. I've changed my opinion on downtown parking after I read that whole thing.
Okay,
You know what I
so
mean?
what's your opinion on downtown parking now?
I think we really need to sit down. It's going to take us more than a half a day to look at this.
Sit down and look at what?
Parking downtown. And we have one of the other things that I checked when we were in Brandon the last time too is with the infrastructure, Manitoba infrastructure was there. And it's coming, is handicap legislation. And it's on its way. And we don't know. We could turn around and change something, and then all of a sudden we're bound by provincial law to change it back. Do you know what I mean? To validate it, I brought Councillor Hu with me, and he was standing beside me when I asked a question to the guy from the government. He said, it's on its way, it's coming. Because parking has always been an issue with me, and what I didn't want to do is find out that we have to, because right now, we have some problems with the handicap parking right now. I don't even know if we meet the criteria for handicap parking.
Right, and so I think we've all agreed that we need to increase the handicap parking spaces in our downtown Winnipeg Beach, for sure. So,
But what if we increase it and we didn't have to? What if we don't increase it and we have to? Like, we don't know right now.
but I think that we are all in agreement, given our senior population, that we want to increase the number of handicap spots.
Correct.
And if we increase it more than what we actually have to, that's okay, because we're doing that for our community, because we've got a senior population out here.
But
so we get to do that.
I've said previously that there are enough non-recreational businesses downtown, from the pharmacy to the healthcare, to the dog grooming, to the post office, to Park Place groceries, to even coming to the town office. There are enough non-recreational businesses downtown that you just can't say, okay, we're gonna go handicap parking, but if you're not handicapped, then you're gonna have to park over by the tracks or the caboose and walk to Garrick Insurance, because there's still plenty of 75-year-old people
Absolutely.
that aren't handicapped, but
Absolutely.
it might take them a little longer to get there.
Mhm.
So I just think this is an elephant that, that's maybe it's gonna take a little more time consuming.
Councillor General.
I feel like we're taking a huge step back. I thought we authorized the CAO to enter into discussions with Corps commissioners with regards to hiring Corps commissioners to enforce parking if that's the way we were going to go. And we'd had lengthy discussions about ticket in tow. We've had lengthy discussions about parking passes for local residents for restricted areas in downtown. We've had lengthy discussions about increasing our handicap parking. So now we want to go back to the drawing board and start all over again. These have been special meetings that the taxpayers have paid serious money for us to be at, and for us to just ignore the progress we've made so far has been a complete waste of taxpayers' money if we're going back to the drawing board.
Councillor Jarvis.
I agree with Councillor Chandra. We've had copious discussions, but we've had no resolution. And we've also understood through the Minister of Justice, now I wasn't at that meeting, however, we can't enforce the ticket. So you can, if we can't enforce a parking ticket, what feedback are we going to get on a ticket in tow? And I agree with Councillor Gendron as well, that I'm not any happier than anybody else coming to a meeting with there's no direct resolution. But I just stated again that this is a bigger issue. From the beginning, I've been against ticket in tow. From the beginning, I've been against the so-called concept of not bringing the park into the conversation on parking. We brought the railroad into it, and they were willing to invest time and energy and money into it. And then that went nowhere. So I know we're spending time. I know that, but this isn't something that we as a council should take lightly. This is something that we need to make sure that we are crossing our T's and dotting our I's, and we're doing it right. Because copious times in the past, things have been done, and then even the patio bylaw was rewritten twice by the same council.
So I think that we are taking it very seriously. I think that we have been having many, many discussions about parking. What we have come up with in our meeting with Department of Justice was that the enforcement that we do have is the ticket in tow. That's the enforcement that we have available to us.
To be clear, we have the level of enforcing a ticket. The issue with the collecting from the ticket, though, can be very expensive. So unless the ticket is going to be a substantial ticket, most municipalities do not move forward with just issuing parking tickets, because going through that whole piece of true enforcement of that ticket ends up costing a municipality.
And so we would have to be issuing parking tickets around $500.
I haven't gone through this.
Yeah.
There is a piece of adjudication, there's a
Yeah.
screening officer, there's several
Yeah.
steps through the Municipal Bylaw Enforcement Act that we must be bound to when issuing fines.
That's right. So we have talked about having residential passes. We have talked about having business passes. We have talked about having paid parking over in the back. We've talked about ticket and tow. We've talked about a variety of solutions. I guess my question is, what other information do we need in order to make a decision about how we're moving forward? And so, Councillor Jarvis, you're saying you're not prepared. You don't think that we're in any place to make a decision and that we have to chew on it more. Is there other information you feel you need in order to make a decision?
My original point was to create a revenue stream. Otherwise, and we've got, to create paid parking, not necessarily through meters. And that was, I'm gonna guess, 1.5 years ago. specifically because we became a parking lot by default. And for whatever reason, I mean, I could throw out COVID, I could throw out increased population, or I could say that they suddenly discovered Winnipeg Beach. But on any given Saturday in the summer, you can have 2, 3, 4, 5 groups of upwards to 20 and 30 people.
I know.
And those people didn't walk here. Those people drove here. Okay, so we have to be cognizant that we can put 3,000 people on that beach easily.
Yeah, we're very aware of that.
Right, so we need to, this isn't, like, if the park is drawing the people to the beach, we're not the beach parking lot. So, again, and I know, and I'm repeating myself, is that I wanted the park, I wanted the railroad. We, unfortunately for us, through no fault of our own, we have no property that we own that we could allow or create a parking lot on. And in fact, in some cases, we forgive property taxes for the use of that property so that people can park and call it free town parking.
Yeah.
On any given Saturday, on a long weekend where the weather is 35 degrees and sunny, you couldn't get an emergency truck through any laneway downtown.
We're all very
Right.
aware of that, which is
So
why we're
my
saying-
point now is that to try to fix a severed artery with a Band-Aid might not be practical. I think that we've, as a group, and we've had lots of discussion, ticket and tow, seasonal passes, so on and so forth. I'm prepared to make a decision sometime in my tenure on this council about the parking, but right now you know what, I just don't want to go blindly forward and make a mistake that we either have to go backwards on, or that we make a mistake that really negatively impacts the town. That's my only concern, and that's the same thing with anything else I've ever discussed. My interest has always been for the ratepayer, and not from a revenue standpoint. Is that we cannot operate a town on a seasonal basis, and sometimes we get clouded. Our judgment gets cloudy because we are interested in boardwalk days, we're interested in Canada Day, we're interested in 35 degrees and sunny. I just want to make sure that we're doing it right, and I agree with everybody that it's time that we're donating to here, but I just want to make sure that we do it right. I don't want ever to have to redo it again.
Mm-hmm. And so when you had talked about including the railroad, we have included the railroad in terms of being able to make that a paid parking area. We have talked to Parks, and that...
You've talked to Parks, we haven't talked to Parks. The council has never had to talk to Parks.
Right.
I wasn't at that meeting, and I don't think anybody else was.
No, the ADM asked to meet with the mayor and CAO only, and so the mayor and CAO met with them, with ADM, and we did bring up parking, and you saw what the response was last week in our at our council meeting, that they said that they would get back to us by form of a letter. They got back to us by form of a letter and stated that it was never their intention to replace the parking. They are going to be putting in a smaller, I think 40-car parking area. We're thinking about doing that, but that's the extent to which they're going. We would, it'd be great to be able to say we want them at the table and we want them to fix it, but they're not going to. So it has become our problem.
Then I say right now, then we just leave it as it is. If the park's not, and that was my original point, if the park's not coming to the table, I can't take it on and I'll recuse myself from the vote, but I can't take it upon myself to do anything with any parking anywhere downtown if we're just gonna try and solve somebody else's problem. That's just.
Well, it's now our problem.
Well, they created a problem for us.
Right, but it's our problem.
And and while we're on that, I mean, I'm led to believe that they're not gonna fix their washrooms this year again either.
Okay.
So there's another problem.
We're talking about parking. Councilor Gemini.
Perhaps if we can come at this from the perspective of our problem is parking for our ratepayers and our businesses. And that's our problem. The province is a contributing factor. The provincial park is a contributing factor to our problem. They've already advised to what extent they're contributing to helping the problem. So if that's all they're contributing, we still have a problem. And so we need to figure out what we're gonna do for our problem, because the park doesn't see it as their problem.
It's true.
So it's now falling on us to make decisions about what we're gonna do for parking for visitors to our town, visitors to our businesses, our local residents that want to come downtown when it's busy. And so looking at it as our problem for our taxpayers, I'd like to see the parking passes for local residents during the summer and increased handicap parking downtown.
What do people think? Councillor Hall, what are your thoughts?
I'm still on the towing aspect of this. I think, I think the only way we should tow a vehicle is if it's in front of the fire hall.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, there's been several occurrences where people were parking in front of the fire hall doors, which is scary. Again, that leads to no parking anywhere, right? So,
What do you think we should be doing about the parking problem downtown?
no, again, I'm kind of with what Councillor Jarvis had said. He made a lot of good points. Again, I'd like more handicap parking. I'm a little concerned about taking away from some of our senior residents or anybody who has a bad hip or whatever, having to walk from a certain part. The passes will work. I think that's an idea too. It's a good idea.
So if a vehicle does not have a pass, what's the enforcement of that?
Well, again, I would have liked to have seen enforceable tickets.
We can enforce tickets, there is going to be a cost associated with that.
Yeah, so, like I said, it's not just a Band-Aid fix here. I don't know, it's a lot more than what we can come up with right away, I think.
Councillor Kozlowski?
Yeah, I think we just lessened our parking downtown with the rubber curbs. You're gonna see 40 less vehicles down there.
Well, what do you think we should be doing with the parking issue that we have?
Well, like I stated earlier, if you're gonna put up a sign, try to collect that money from those people. If they get towed, again, how are they gonna retrieve their vehicle
No, I understand
from
that.
here?
So if we don't take it in tow, what suggestions do you have in terms of how we deal with the parking issue downtown?
Let's say, I don't know, put up maybe 2-hour signs. Just to give them a hint that 2 hours and you're out of there. Again, if you give them a ticket, are they gonna pay? Is it gonna cost us more? The city of Winnipeg now is giving all the people that had tickets a freebie, and they don't have to pay their tickets. But if they catch them on the street or whatever, they'll take their vehicle, lock them down, and they'll have to pay for the towing. But they do not have to pay for their ticket. And I think that's what's gonna happen here as well. That if I get a ticket on the street, okay, I'm not gonna pay it. You guys gotta come after me, or whoever, right? Is there a way to maybe slap that on their license and,
No.
No, I'm just saying, would the province do something where, and I thought they did do something similar to that where they put it onto your license fees, and if you didn't pay it by a certain time.
We're not allowed to do that.
Yeah.
No.
Okay, so one goes into another problem.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like I said, we just lessened the parking on Main Street.
But
You're gonna have a lot less people coming down
But the
Main
solution,
Street.
if there is 2-hour parking and it's ticket and towed, and everyone's concerned about the tow, move your car after 2 hours.
Are they gonna move it? No, they won't.
But the onus of responsibility, so I guess council is looking at, so what I'm hearing is we are leaving parking the same?
Councillor Gendron?
No, sorry, not no, but,
Like I'm,
we tow somebody's car It is not our issue or our problem on how they go get their vehicle. We've recognized we have a problem. If you're not willing to, and it appears that the only form of enforcement we have right now is to tow vehicles. Tickets are too exorbitant for us to go. Anybody that's watched these meetings knows that, and they're gonna laugh at a ticket. Our only way of enforcement is to have a vehicle towed. It's not our problem how somebody gets their vehicle. They should have thought of that before they ignored our parking signs. So if we're not gonna go with tow, which is our only form of enforcement, then yeah, I guess we're leaving things as status quo, because there is no point in changing something that we're not planning on enforcing. We're wasting money on signage, we're wasting money on public awareness. It's either status quo or we have a way to enforce it. But I'm not willing to waste taxpayers' money on signage that we're not even gonna enforce.
Council can enforce a ticket, and possibly because there has not been a level of enforcement, the tickets don't carry as much clout. There is costs associated to that level of enforcement. That's all. Like, I want to be clear that you have the option to issue tickets. However, the process to ensure it is enforced to the full extent of the ticket, there will be a cost consideration with that.
So I'm hearing from the majority of council that you don't feel like we have enough information to make a decision. Is there other information that you feel we need in order to make a decision?
I would like information on the process for enforcement of tickets, please.
It's the Municipal Bylaw Enforcement Act. You want me to print the whole?
No, that's okay. No, that's fine. That's fine. But an idea of what our cost would be going after a ticket?
It's in the hundreds of dollars.
I can't sit there. There are processes that small municipalities, this is not anything new. There's been a lot of challenges with the MBA that several smaller municipalities have raised concerns, because we still have to have so some of the costs I can't provide to you, Councillor, such as a screening officer. A screening officer cannot be a member of council, cannot be a member of staff. What is the remuneration that we are allocating to a screening officer? Are you asking me to set up a cost system?
Sorry, Sharon.
I need clarification.
Okay, sorry. So,
There's an
rather than
adjudication.
dollar values, what are the steps that will have costs associated
Step-by-step
with
process?
them? Yeah.
Sure.
I think we've
Thank
gone
you.
through that, because it's a screening officer, it's an adjudication
I
process.
will create a step-by-step process. When would you like this for, Councillor?
When you can fit it into your schedule. I don't want to be, as long as I have it by the next meeting or next discussion on this subject.
27th?
Councillor Houle, Councillor Jarvis, you're both saying that you don't think that we're at a place where we can make a decision yet. Is there other information that you feel we need in order to make a decision, Councillor Jarvis?
I have enough information, I just don't like where we're at. This isn't, I think it's morphed into something that at this point in time I'm not comfortable with. So as I said, I would like to further discussion. I would like to say status quo, cover the patios, cover the bicycle racks and a few other things. And I still think we need to address this.
In what way?
I still think that we're creating a problem, trying to solve a problem.
Okay.
And I don't want to get into other provincial politics, but example being, we have premiers that are withholding carbon charge because they don't believe in the carbon charge. That's a step that they took, and I'm not suggesting that we stop talking to the park, but the park, if they're doing this to us, they have to understand that, you know, at some point in time, they're gonna have to come to the table and they're gonna have to make a decision. Because we just can't continue to suffer the way we're suffering at the hands of somebody else. So, and that's how I feel about it. And I have Mayor Jackson, I have more than enough information. And I'm comfortable that we're capable as a council to solve it, but I just don't like the boom, 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 done. You know, if I have to spend the next 6 months hammering this out, when we finally sign our name, it'll be done the way I'm happy with. And I'm just not happy with where we're at right now.
Okay, so that's telling me, like I'm trying to figure out what you're saying, so that's telling me that with the options that we have before us right now, you're not happy with those.
I'm not happy with
Fair
that. I'd rather leave it the way it is, because I don't think we fully, no person in particular, but I don't think we fully understand the dilemma that we're in. I think we really need to suffer a little more before we finally say, look, enough is enough. We gotta fix this. We're trying to fix something, and it's not as painful as it's about to get.
I'm not sure I understood what you just said.
It's gonna get worse, Pam. And if I have to wait till it gets worse before finally somebody says, let's seriously look at this and fix this, we're gonna get to a situation where, and we know this to be true, you know, like, I mean, we could talk about other towns where they lose the straw work plant, they lose the pulp mill, they lose the hydroelectric plant. You know, we know it's coming. We knew that the Noventus was coming, you know what I mean? Now we're in we might have been able to mitigate the damage 2 or 3 months ahead of time. We seem to have, my personal opinion, we've been talking about this for 1.5 years, and we're still talking about it. And I don't have a problem with that. But we're just throwing out solutions, and I don't like any of the solutions. You know?
So do you have a solution in mind that you do like, that you think we should be looking at? I think that's what I'm.
I think, okay, let's throw this one out. Let's try and get some land. Our ambition is to increase revenue, because we just went through a horrendous, call it 3 years. We had 2021, we lost money. 2022, we lost money. We don't know if we lose money in 2023. We reassessed property value. We increased the mill rate. We got a 23% carbon charge coming at us. We got an 18% increase usage in food banks. It's going on and on and on. And for the discussion purposes, we're a one-trick pony. We keep taxing and taxing and taxing and taxing. So my solution would be that we look at, and we've talked about it before, we go out and we solicit land from somewhere, be it St. Andrews, anywhere. We have to increase our tax base. We're trying to divide up the same dollar too many ways, and it can't be done. We're running out of money. And so we're gonna solve a problem that we didn't create, and we're using our money. If the province wants to give me their checkbook and give me signing authority, I'll fix the problem. But I don't have access to their checkbook.
So what you're suggesting is that we should start talking about how to access more land.
I'll put it in perspective, like and I have the solar glass plant in Selkirk. It's going to create 600 to 700 jobs, 250 permanent jobs. They've had a new hospital. They've over 500 residential units in the last 5 years.
I understand.
They went out and built apartments, and then they went out and got jobs. Do you know what I mean? We have nowhere to build. We have nowhere to. The only way we can increase our tax revenue, is through taxes, and eventually that runs out.
Okay, so you're suggesting that we look at acquiring more land?
Yes, you wanted a solution. I said, well, why don't we invest our time right now into the chunk of property on the west side of Highway 9 up into 225 and see what we can get out of there. And maybe we can throw in a hotel, or maybe we can throw in something in there. You know what I mean? We could start generating revenue for the town. Like, we've got a lot of things. We were just on Main Street, and that sidewalk is about as level as the Atlantic Ocean. Do you know what I mean?
Okay.
Like, you can't even walk on that. We got holes in the middle of the road.
Okay. So you're saying that you don't think that we should be focusing on parking right now? You want us to be focusing on acquiring more land?
Well, Pam, seriously.
No,
No, I can't even repeat myself anymore.
I'm not being sarcastic.
I've said at least 5 times, leave the parking alone right now. Let's address the patios. Let's address the bicycle racks, and let's fix what we can fix. I have no intention of investing more ratepayers' money into creating or solving a problem that we didn't create. And I think, and I said again, I'm going to repeat myself again, is that I think we need to, I'm not prepared right now to make a decision on parking downtown, because I think we need to invest more time into it. I'm aware of all the players. I'm aware of where everybody stands on it. And I think that, you know what, if we go to a vote right now and I get outvoted 3-2 or 4-1, I can live with that decision. But what I can't live with right now is me doing something that I don't agree with. I can support the decision of council, but what I can't support is my decision right now to say, you know what, Mayor Jackson, you're right. Let's put seasonal passes in there, let's make it all handicap parking, and let's put all the seniors over by the caboose. And when they have to go downtown to pick up their prescription medication, they've got to walk 3 blocks to do that in 35-degree weather, or maybe in rain, or maybe in snow. I can't do that.
Okay.
I can't do that.
I'm not putting forward any particular plan. I was wanting council to be talking about where we're standing right now in terms of parking. So I'm hearing you say that you don't feel you're in a place where you can make
No,
a decision.
I think we need to fix what we can fix, and I think we can come back to parking another time. Right now, I can live another summer that way. It doesn't matter.
Okay. Councillor Houle.
Yeah, status quo for me.
Okay. Councillor Gendron.
I think I've already expressed what my opinion was.
Okay. Councillor
Have
Kozlowski.
we ever heard back from the rail line about the parking?
I have
Just like
not.
that. We
So
haven't
in
heard back.
reference to the specifications, what they're looking at, I have not received additional follow-up.
Yeah, other than
And
that,
as there was concern from a business perspective at the business meeting, there was opposition against paid parking and no clear directive of council that that's the avenue we're moving to. I did not continue to press the issue of a paid parking lot in conjunction with the Lakeline Rail until it's confirmed that that is the direction council wants to move in.
Okay. So,
So from that, what I'm getting, all state status quo, leave it for another, leave it for another.
well, when I'm hearing status quo, that means it's not coming up in our meeting. We take it off our
Parking
finished
the way it is.
business. Okay. Councillor Gendron.
In which case, there is not any need for the information that I requested earlier. We're just staying status quo with the parking.
Okay. Have
Off
we?
your to-do list.
Okay. Is there stuff around patios that we need to resolve?
Okay, so just so I'm clear, council is installing the curb the entire length of Main Street? Is that correct?
That's my understanding.
Mine as well.
Yes?
Yeah.
Yes, okay, well, I'm looking for majority, okay, yes. Is council wanting any thoughts on, because the reason curbs were removed in front of places that did not have patios, there was a safety concern. Is there any safety concern? Is there any resolution to a safety concern, or it's no concern?
I'm thinking anything's gonna be a safety issue. I'm thinking that there's no concern. My understanding of our conversation today was that where there aren't patios, the town is putting in bike racks along Main Street. And so that means that we have the curb running from north to south. So it's a free flow walking area without having to go up and down and in and out. And that also allows town to have bike racks along Main Street. That's my understanding. And I'm seeing Councillor Kozlowski nod his head yes, and Councillor
Yes.
Gendron is saying yes, Councillor Jarvis has got his hand in the air.
I'm saying yes, but we
You're
need
saying
to,
yes.
if we're doing that, you need to get the signs up on the poles right away, because they park motorcycles and things between the curb block and the curbs. So there are no parking, no anything signs on all the new lampposts. There's nothing on the west side of Main Street. That indicates 2-hour parking, no parking, you can park here all day. There's no signage whatsoever on that side. So if you're gonna do it, because I've seen it in the past, they'll start to park there. And you can't enforce anything. You can't even give them a mock ticket, because they'll say, well, there's no sign.
Okay.
So if
So
you're
we'll
gonna do
have-
that, then you have to put signage up.
So we're gonna have no parking signs along the west side of Main Street. We will have the curb stops along the west side of Main Street. We will have bike racks attached to trees or light standards along the west side of Main Street on the sidewalk. Is there anything about patios we need to be deciding? Councillor,
I would just like to see that the bike racks are, you place your bikes north and south. That's my only wish. Make sure that's stipulated.
Councillor Gendron.
We currently have a very successful bike rack going the other way. I don't think we should be stipulating there was huge public outcry, over 450 people responding positively to that bike rack. This whole discussion started over 2 people making a comment. I don't think we should be, if we're gonna be supporting what the public is in support of, by putting that in the bylaw and specifying that we are going completely against a bike rack that the public was greatly in support of.
Okay,
I was first. I know that to be true, because I saw his hand go up after mine was up, out of the corner of my eye.
Councillor Jarvis.
I don't have a problem with that concept, with the extended sidewalk, but they need a ramp up.
Okay.
Because if you're gonna, and that will solve the problem of not being able to pass by that bike rack. If you have a ramp on the curb that can allow somebody with a wheelchair to get off the sidewalk and back on the sidewalk and bypass the bike rack. Because I've seen that happen on Main Street before, where somebody does have a patio and somebody doesn't have a patio, and then somebody with a wheelchair has to go all the way to the end of the street to come on. So if you're gonna leave that bike rack there, the said bike rack, if you're gonna leave that there, then put on a wheelchair ramp on either side of it, so that you can access the sidewalk.
Okay. Councillor Hull.
No, I'm good.
Yeah, that was Dougie sort of answered that, Councillor Jarvis. But those, again, those 450
Dougie?
people, Councillor Dougie.
Oh.
Okay.
It was a joke.
They were interested in the colors, the shape of the fish and everything. Yeah, everybody loved it. Oh, we all love it. There's no problem there. The problem was with that was safety concern. Okay, and when I went by there were people coming out of the restaurant saying, look at this, we can't even get by here.
Okay.
And I think I showed you guys the picture that was taken, and there was maybe a foot, maybe a foot and a half where people had to squeeze by that bike rack to use the sidewalk.
But having that curb stop there
Well, yeah, that's,
fixes
again,
the issue.
yeah, and I'm not for the curb stops, I'm for the curb stops like they were last year, just in front of the patios that had patios. Because again, you're lessening the parking downtown.
Okay, is there anything, I think that there was,
Anything else with patios, you mean?
yes, there is.
Yeah, there's copious stuff with patios.
What are the copious stuffs with patios?
One is fencing, so that we can, and if there's a need for me to go through the whole thing, I mean, I know it, if you're 7 feet from the curb, it has to be secured. It cannot be just placed there. There is, regardless of whether they're licensed or not, it needs to be a 4 to 5 inch circumference rope. It needs to be on 3-foot centers and no less than 28 inches above the ground. And it has to be secured. All fencing has to, and I don't care about it, it has to be secured, it has to be inspected by the Public Works. You cannot just lean it up on something and hope that it stands there. Because all you need, pardon?
Lean what up?
Sections of fence.
Oh,
People have fencing and somebody comes along and you see them, they lean on it and the thing falls, heaven forbid. We're not, the other thing is that they need proper garbage receptacles and they need proper, if you're gonna be smoking on the patio, then they need cigarette receptacles. You can't just flick them on the street because they don't get picked up. And they go into the storm sewers and they go into the lake. And then they need to be, and if it needs to be inspected by the green team doesn't need to clean it, but if the green team in their daily travels up and down Main Street, watering plants and changing the garbages, says that this particular business needs to clean their patio, and remember, it happens everything from dropped ice cream cones right through to spilt drinks and spilt food. If somebody that has a patio or needs to have it cleaned, then Odette can be the person that notifies the town, and the town sends them an email and says, please clean up in front. Because in the past, it's crazy. And then we need a curfew. Like, you need hours of operation, it needs to be posted. Okay, for belligerent behavior, for all kinds of things. And so there is some sort of a code of conduct on the patio. Because I've had in the past fights between patios.
So you're wanting us to write a bylaw
No.
that has a code of conduct?
They need to have the hotel put one up last year or 2 years ago, because it started to get out of control. Now, I don't know if that was the liquor commission generated that, but they need an occupancy. If you're licensed, you need no more than so many people. And there needs to be some sort of a code of conduct that they have to do and submit to us, and we'll approve it. Because we had in the past, they're all standing up there. It's like being anybody that's been on Bourbon Street in New Orleans, and everybody knows how they get their beads. It gets out of control. And I've seen it copious times in front of the hotel where they do break stands. And when we were at lunch in Winnipeg the one time, Tyler McPherson backed it up and said, yep, they just sit there and they do diggies and the flyers, and they just sit there and clap and cheer and do all kinds of stuff. And this is brought 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock Saturday evening, because they've been drinking there since noon. So there needs to be some sort of a code of conduct on that.
So you want the hotel to write a code of conduct?
Sure, and they
that
can
is
submit
passed
them,
by
but they
us?
need to adhere to it. I've had it 1 o'clock in the morning, and they're trying to get rid of people on there, and it's just crazy. It's a nightmare.
No,
And they're inebriated, and they're lying in the middle of the street. You know, like, we have to, and they took the patio license away from the Viking for 4 years because somebody got killed. You know what I mean? And we don't need that. We need strict rules and regulations.
Yeah.
10 o'clock, shut it down.
I absolutely agree with that, and that was what I was going to suggest was, patios have to close at 10 o'clock.
Yeah. I've seen.
These are extensions of existing businesses, so they can move their patrons indoors. I would like to see the patios have to close down at 10 p.m. and I'd also like to see no smoking on the patios.
Yeah, I've seen arguments over that.
Yeah,
When you extend the sidewalk, and this is about 5 years ago, and a husband and a wife and a baby in a baby buggy, and because they're there, and they're swearing, and they're drinking, and they're smoking, and the guy blows his cigarette in the direction of the people with the child in the stroller.
Yeah.
And I thought, and it just almost got out of control. You know, because this guy is just so rude that he just blows his cigarette in the direction, and he, unintentional, didn't realize it, but right into the family's face, the baby and everything. And it just went crazy. It went downhill
one
after
of the
that.
provincial bylaws anyways, that smoking would be allowed on their patios other than in the city of Winnipeg, where you cannot do that.
And I'd like to see us not doing it here as well.
I'd like to see us what?
That our patio bylaw includes no smoking on patios.
Would the province go along with it, so.
It's not the
They have it in
province, it's
Hawaii,
our
they have it on
bylaw.
the beach in Hawaii,
It's our bylaw. You can't smoke on the beach here either. Can't smoke on the
but
beach.
nobody enforces, they don't enforce it.
No, I'm just saying, you can't smoke on the beach, can't smoke on the patios. If they don't enforce it themselves, they lose their patio license.
You know there's gonna be huge kickback on that, eh?
Yeah.
Sure,
From who though?
all the smokers.
From
And they're going
Are
outside.
they residents or are they day
1% at a time.
trippers? Are they coming from the park?
residents.
And where are they going now? They're going,
One.
when there's no patio at the hotel, they're going out the back to smoke.
I'm just,
And he's got tables and chairs there for
Or they
people to
go to
sit there and
Roadhouse.
smoke. So they can
one
continue
person
to
at a
go
time,
there.
please. I'm just saying we're gonna get a lot of kickback from residents on this. Huge amount.
Where do they go in the winter?
I'm just saying.
No, and I understand that, but they don't have the option to smoke up front comfortably and drinking in the winter.
I'm just wondering if this is something the town should be getting involved in as opposed to the organization or the business who owns. Like, how much does the town overstep and starts deciding, we want them closed by this time, we want, you know? I'm just wondering if we're overstepping here.
That is
Councillor
the town's function. They pay taxes.
I
Yeah,
understand.
we're not overstepping anything. Every municipality on the planet has rules and regulations.
Well, I understand that.
Yeah, so we say, hey, and I agree, if there's no smoking, we have, and I've talked about this before, and remember, I smoked for 35 years, I understand the concept of needing a cigarette, trust me. But you have to be cognizant that people, I mean, they throw their cigarette butts everywhere, they congregate, it just, if they go out the back, or airports got rid of it. You know, and I was still smoking when they started to bring in all the regulations, and I felt like a second-class citizen. It became so oppressive, I finally quit smoking.
Good.
I said, this is just crazy. You can't smoke anywhere, so quit.
I'm just looking to see in our current bylaw whether we have hours of operation. I don't see any
I don't
hours
see
of operation. Did you see any?
No, so if we are looking at, we are looking at implementing changes to the patio bylaw. A bylaw comes into force after 3 readings, and the council can only have 2 readings at 1 meeting. So the current bylaw is the legislation. It does state that people cannot apply for patio licenses until April 15th. If we are changing this bylaw, I need to be directed clearly on the changes that council wants to have, as we can have first and second reading at the March 27th meeting and third reading at the April 3rd meeting, in order for it to come into effect April 15th.
Councillor Jarvis?
The patio bylaw as it's written is actually quite good. The problem is we don't enforce it. And it's never really theoretically been enforced. If you read the patio bylaw, the one from 2021, I believe it is.
Yep.
Yeah, 5.
Yeah.
There's nothing really wrong with it. Even from fencing to dividers, and it talks
No,
about
I
inspection.
understand
It's good. The only suggestions that I make will be that we actually have somebody weekly that goes around and just maintains just some sort of a visual, and give it to the green team. We need hours of operation, and I will concur with Councillor Gendron, no smoking on patios. I
That
think,
means a change in the bylaw.
right, and just add it to the bylaw.
Okay.
And we can do that, we have enough time that we can do that.
What do other people think about this? Councillor Houle, Councillor Kozlowski?
You're gonna have a big uproar,
Huge.
there's no doubt about it. We've had it in our region in the city.
Gotta be done.
Well,
So the 3 amendments that I've understood council was looking at is 1, businesses must have a code of conduct policy that must be approved by council. 2, no smoking. And 3, close the patio by 10 p.m.
I'd like to suggest 11 o'clock in accordance with our noise bylaw.
Our,
In accordance with our noise bylaw.
so then last call has to be at 10:30 for the patio, or move inside by 11. I can live with that. I can live with 11, but they,
So can I. So do we want to just go around the table and see what everybody thinks on the other 2? Because there's no point in changing the bylaw if there's not support of at least 3 for each item.
Okay, I don't agree with the smoking, the non-smoking. I don't agree with that. I think that a lot of our residents will be up in arms about that. And I think it's gonna cause lots of problems. And including enforcement problems. But it's gonna cause lots of problems with our businesses. It's gonna cause lots of problems with our residents. That's just my opinion. Councillor Gould?
Yeah, I'm a non-smoker, but I think it's gonna be tough to take away the smoking aspect on the patio. I think that's why it's there. I think, and again, if you start piling everybody out in the back lane, I can only imagine what that back lane's gonna look like. And also, there's a lot of traffic racing up and down those back lanes outside the hotel. So yeah, I'm not too big on removing the smoking aspect on the, I think we should provide receptacles, or there should be receptacles, or have the hotel provide receptacles for sure.
Yeah.
And 11 o'clock, obviously, for the noise. And then I got more stuff on the bike racks later.
Councillor Kozlowski?
Yeah, maybe that code of conduct would help too, if they had something in there regarding the disposing of their cigarettes. I think there will be a big uproar. That's the reason patios were created in warmer months here in the province, to enjoy a drink out there, and a cigarette. We've taken them out of the bars, buildings, etc. Now we're sort of stifling them to not smoke outside. So, and then again too, you look, is everybody going to be piling out the back? Well, it's better out the back than in the front. So I'd be against that as well.
You'd be against what?
Taking the smoking out.
Okay.
So that's off the table.
Councillor Jarvis?
I disagree with the taking it. I'll say 15. I started with smoking and I got rid of it in 2 or 3 years, and it never affected me. I was in the city when they changed the laws in the city, and I ran I'll put in perspective, we did over $1 million a year in draft alone, and the bar that I worked at. And we thought initially it would really affect us, because we were basically a bar, and we did over $3 million a year in sales. And we were really opposed to it, but it was a blip. It was just, people would end up, they would find it, they would walk down the other side of Hargrave and have a cigarette. The smokers could enjoy it. I think it's false that you're worried that it's gonna stop business. It won't. I thought initially too, but it never did.
I'm just saying that, given that our restaurants that do have patios because they can smoke there. I agree with Councillor Kozlowski on that. I think we're gonna have big pushback. People who are going to any of the outdoor patios for a drink can't cross the street to go and have a cigarette, because you're not allowed to smoke on the street, and you're not allowed to smoke in the park. You're not allowed to smoke in any of those places. So, but I do understand that yourself and Councillor Gendron think that there should be a no smoking policy. I also understand that Councillor Gould, myself, and Kozlowski feels that there should not be a no smoking policy, so that at this point is off the table.
Yep.
I understand that we're all agreeing to the 11 o'clock closing of patios. Is there anything else on patios that we have to change?
Sorry, just a quick question. Is there anything in here that, with regard to lack of adherence, we'll revoke the patio license?
No, it's a lack of adherence is a $500 fine for every occurrence.
Can I interest two other people in agreeing to revoking a patio license after a certain number of infractions?
I think an increased amount would be a better.
Deterrent.
I'm not sure I can. I will look into the act. We are subject to certain provisions of fines that we can impose.
Except
And again, the fines again are part of the Municipal Bylaw Enforcement Act, just to be clear.
let me read that part to you. Any person who breaches any provision of this bylaw shall be subject to a fine not exceeding $500 where the contravention, refusal, neglect, omission, or failure continues for more than 1 day. The person is guilty of a separate offense for each day that it continues. So it's $500 a day.
Read the next one, 5.3. It says you can take the fence down and remove the furniture.
Yeah, if there's a danger to the public, a permit hasn't been
Well,
obtained.
you can still take the patio down. If they're lining up and doing street burnouts, you can say, enough is enough.
Okay,
And
so
patio's gone.
it would just seem that we do have some recourse.
Yes, so
here
yes,
as
we
opposed
do
to
have
trying to
recourse.
help.
Thank you. Sorry, I didn't read it in detail.
Okay. Anything else with a patio license?
So code of conduct must be submitted for town approval.
Weekly inspections.
Well, the weekly inspections is not gonna be in the bylaw, it's just something that we're gonna be doing to make sure that they're following by. using-
Council wants that amendment, code of conduct to be submitted for
I do.
approval. And who is approving the code of conduct?
I think that we're getting
The safety
into
committee?
I think we're getting into a really gray area there where council has to check people's
Yeah.
code of conduct. This just feels
Leave it up to the business.
way too much of an overreach. I think it's up to the businesses
Yeah.
to decide on code of conduct of their patrons. I don't think it's in council to now start knocking on businesses' doors and said, the council has decided that your patrons have to act in this kind of way. That feels like way too much of an overreach. If we have problems with people on any patio causing any problems, swearing, cursing, beating people up, we call the RCMP. It's called disturbance of the peace, it's called public mischief, it's called nuisance, it's called all those kinds of things. But if they have to check their code of conduct with us, okay, so they've checked their code of conduct with us, and now what? Someone's screaming at one of the tables at 11 o'clock at night. Council members are gonna run down there and say you're breaching, I don't know, Councillor Jarvis.
The Liquor License Act states that they have the right to refuse service to anyone who has belligerent behavior. And all we're doing is bringing to their attention that we're cognizant of the fact that they have patrons that sit out there and shout awful things at passerbys, regardless of gender, that challenge people. They get enough, and we know this as adults. You get enough alcohol in you, the filters come off, the people are there. So if we can't suddenly go to somebody after a weekend of absolute mayhem and say, look, we've got this, this, and this. They need to be aware that this is something that we are, going to enforce, that we're going to inspect on a regular basis, and it's another tool in the toolbox for us to say, hey, look, your patio license is gone. We have a code of conduct for council, but we're not gonna give them a code of conduct to have a patio under our approval on the street.
Councillor Gendron.
Perhaps that could be offset with the idea of when patio licenses are being issued, thank you, that we let the business owners know that in the past, while 5.3 may not have been enforced, this current council is wanting to ensure for public safety and in the best interest of the public that we do follow up on section 5.3 if things are brought to our attention. And just let the businesses know that we intend to be enforcing 5.3. Whereas it may not have been in the past.
I think if we are having problems with any particular place on a regular basis, there's no reason why we can't call the RCMP and have them go down and have conversation with them. I don't know that making every single one of our businesses sit down and write a code of conduct.
No, and that's what I'm
Submit
saying.
it to
Yeah.
us.
Nobody's saying
5.3 is our, no, what I'm saying, Pam, is we don't do that,
No.
but we do let businesses
That's
be
right.
aware that we will be enforced. Well, it may not have been enforced in the past and things have happened, we will be enforcing 5.3 if need be this season.
Okay,
Absolutely.
so amendment to the bylaw, read code of conduct, votes please, so I know if I'm,
Are you asking that we want a code of
yeah, are
conduct?
we putting code
I'm
How
of
many
conduct
people
in?
want us to have them make a code of conduct and send it to us? Raise your hands. Sorry, Doug.
Okay, so no change to the bylaw regarding smoking, no change to the bylaw regarding code of conduct. Closed by 11,
Correct.
Yes.
I vote for that.
everyone is voting for
Yeah, I
closed
think
by
that's what the hotel had anyways, didn't they?
No, they've been there at 1:30 in the morning.
11 o'clock.
Correct.
Yes, okay. And I'm making amendment in reference specifically to cigarette receptacles.
It's in it's in there.
It's already in there?
And as our garbage cans.
As our garbage can, yes.
Yeah, all that needs to be enforced.
Okay. Okay. Okay, so just the one amendment?
Yep.
Is there any, so the other piece is applications cannot be received until April 15th if I'm rewriting this bylaw. I'm questioning why that clause is there. Does anyone have background on that? But
Nope.
if someone is looking at having a
Yeah,
bylaw,
I think it's to do with the timing of giving Public Works, it's sort of all to do with the timing of when they can come out and do the work. So they don't want to be starting patios earlier. And I think by April 15th, they sort of gives an idea of when they'll be able to open. And when Public Works can
no,
come
it
out
doesn't,
and-
they're not able to open the 15th.
No, gives
In
an
place
idea.
for a period of May 1st to October 1st. So that's the period of when a patio, as per section 3.3, be in place only for the period of May 1st to October 1st. So that is the period when someone can have a patio. So I am questioning 3.3.1, a sidewalk patio permit will not be issued prior to April 15th of each year. I'm questioning from an administrative perspective, why can someone not apply for a patio until April 15th? Is there rationale behind
I
that?
have no idea.
When it's clear the period that you can only have a patio is from May 1st to October 1st. If someone chooses to purchase their patio permit in February, is there
No.
concern? Like, I'm just wondering.
No.
So
No.
is
Can eliminate that, I would think.
council okay with us eliminating will not be issued prior to April 15th? I can remove that? I mean, if I'm rewriting or, making amendments.
So if you're making amendments, we're saying May 1st to October 1st, but there is a requirement of Public Works, and what if the weather does not allow them to go out and set things up May 1st, but we're saying that they're entitled to have a patio by May 1st, so that should enable them to be able to set up and have everything done on the road, so.
So clause 3.35E, be in place for the period of May 1st to October 1st. Deviation from this period may be granted or requested at the discretion of the CAO of the town. Weather-related issues may cause installation to occur after May 1st or removal to occur prior to October 1st of any given year.
Sorry about that, thank you.
Anything else on the patio licenses? Okay. And my understanding is that we are in agreement in terms of we've made our final decisions in terms of the bikes, the bike racks, is that correct?
I just wanted to say that, again, I would like to see them all go north to south. Even the current bike rack in question that was brought up several times today, there's no reason why the bikes can't be north to south.
I'm just
And
wondering,
Councillor Gendron's concern last time, if the bike rack was in the park, she'd be too far away from her bike or anybody else's bikes. But again, I think there's no reason why we can't have all the bikes down Main Street north to south, and it's not impeding anybody.
what's the purpose of that if we've got the curb stops in so that the sidewalk that they're using is on?
I'm not comfortable with them in any walkway. I think if council's okay with somebody tripping and cracking their face on the concrete, then allow the bikes to impede a pathway. I'm saying I'm not in agreement with that. I want them all north to south. And that's on record for me. That's exactly how I feel about that.
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out the
That is it. I don't want somebody tripping over a bike and cracking their face on the sidewalk when it's impeding a walkway. It's that simple. Yes, we're gonna have the curb, but it's not everybody's gonna walk on that side.
Okay.
And again, I don't feel comfortable blocking a walkway.
Okay.
So can I just ask for clarification on that? So if the individual has a patio license and has a bike rack within their patio license and has the ramp access on either side, is north, south, east, west an issue then if it's within their patio license area?
It's still an issue for me when you're blocking any walkway. I think it north to south keeps the bike with the flow of traffic. You're less likely to fall on it, you're less likely to trip and.
But it's not a
and hurt yourself.
walkway once somebody has a patio license. So what I'm saying is, if the bike rack is within a patio license,
I want them
and there's
all
the
north to
ramps.
south. That's it.
point taken,
That's it.
point made.
Okay.
I agree, north and south. And once again, I'm not in favor of those rubber curbs because of the traffic and the parking, the leading of the parking.
Thanks.
Councillor Jarvis?
I have to go north to south, because it said two bylaws, one says 5 feet unobstructed. I understand the concept and I'm okay with the ramp and everything else. I don't,
So
I rescind that. I don't care east to west, north to south. As long as there's a pathway through there. And that's been, and I'm a stickler on my original point, is that you need to get around objects, and having read in its entirety the traffic bylaw, is that there are certain aspects of downtown and sidewalks that we don't even come close to respecting, and one being the scooters and everything else. So, anyways, I don't care.
Well,
I know that sounds bad, but.
yeah, it is. You kind of have to decide.
Okay, then I'll go north to south. Let's keep it all one way. Sorry, I was trying to get out of it and I apologize, but, because I go out north to south because that's just the way it reads, you know what I mean? So, you need 5 feet between the building and the bike rack, and I don't think that that's a big problem. You know what I mean? If you're extending the sidewalk, the board, and I don't think a patio license is necessary in that case, just, you'll have room to do it. I'm positive you can do that. So, knowing, yeah. I forget the actual dimensions, but it's like, it's pretty far between the actual building and the curb. It's at least 14 feet, and there's no way that that thing is 14 feet. You know what I mean? So.
Councillor Who?
Again, once we looked at the different styles of bike racks, the north to south is gonna work. Even the bike rack that's currently mounted on the street could be still used. It's a great bike rack, but again, north to south, and all of them, they're gonna have that amount. I mean, if you're still gonna be able to park 2 to 4 bikes, that thing is long. And you're still gonna park 2 to 4 bikes on all the other ones that we're gonna put down Main Street before. We're gonna have 5 times the amount of bike racks that we had before. So we've covered everybody.
I concur.
Okay, so administration needs some clarification. Am I actually amending bylaw 9/2017? Because there currently is no legislation with bike racks, placement of bike racks, direction of bike racks. Am I amending that bylaw?
I'd like to see that, please.
Councillor General?
I fail to see what an issue whether somebody chooses to put a bike rack within their patio license, whether their bike rack faces north to south or west to east. I fail to see why that is an issue for us. Are we now going to start dictating what direction people should have their tables within their patio license and what direction their chairs have to follow? If it's within a patio license and it meets all of the other regulations, I fail to see why we need to dictate what direction anything within a patio license is facing.
Okay, and I'm asking a question of clarification. So if people are wanting to change to the bylaw that all bike racks in Winnipeg Beach have to face north to south, that means all bike racks in Winnipeg Beach have to face north to south. At Larry Moore Park, at the Beachside Park, at Park Place, at the post office, unless we're saying something different. But then we're gonna have to determine what direction the bike racks have to be facing in each of the locations. Councillor Jarvis?
I backpedal then, I don't care, east to west, north to south.
No,
Councillor Who?
we can determine that it's Main Street only. We can do whatever we want.
You're right.
Councillor Jarvis?
Okay, I'm going north to south again.
For God's sakes.
I hurt myself going back and forth.
How about the streets that go north and south? That's the way the bike racks go.
Man,
The ones that go
I can't
east
be
and
right.
west, go east and west. Problem solved.
I was not sure that we should be
Okay,
getting into this kind of detail.
Well, let's,
The reality of this discussion is that, I'm sorry, but I see it as a personal issue with a local business that I cannot sit here and ignore.
there we go.
Okay, no, it is, so then either everything within a patio license faces north to south, or we have no jurisdiction over what goes in that patio license, within that patio, because this is getting out of hand.
So two separate things is if a patio license is obtained, we're saying placement of, because there's no permanent structure, like we're looking at the bike racks that we are installing on a permanent basis, is that correct? And that those bike racks that we're installing on a permanent basis
North and south.
must flow with the direction of the street? Is that what we're
So-
saying?
Any bike rack
Any,
on Main Street, like the one that's existing there, can't obstruct traffic.
okay, so just to clarify, patio license, we have because we have a few bylaws in place here. We have our traffic bylaw that we'd be looking at the bike rack placement on, because the bike racks are not conducive to a patio. So if a patio license is obtained and fencing is obtained to fence off the area for the patio, councils, so placement of any object within that enclosed and contained area, are we staying they still bike racks still within that contained area must follow bylaw 917.
I don't know. Is that what's being
And what is
suggested?
917?
So that's our traffic bylaw, right? So if we're saying that placement of bike racks must be installed conducive to the flow of the road or right? So if it's a east-west road, bike racks are east-west so that they're not impeding the sidewalk. If it's north-south, the bike racks are facing north-south, so it's not impeding the sidewalk. However, in a patio that's closed off, what is the consensus in those areas that are already closed off?
So what are you saying? Are you saying put a bike rack between that patio and
I'm not saying the town is, I'm saying if a business owner takes a patio license and closes off the street or the sidewalk as per the patio license, council's sphere of jurisdiction for the placement of any entity within that closed contained area. So it's not just conducive, like we have to be very careful with that. Like if there's fencing that's it, like what are we asking for? The challenge, what we're hearing from a safety standpoint is blocking off a walkway. But if there is a patio that's in place that is following the patio bylaw of being contained, whether by fencing or rope or however the business chooses to fence off their area, that the fencing in itself is impeding the walkway. So I'm needing clarification with that.
Well, it speaks for itself, doesn't it? I mean, if the patio is closed in, you're not walking through it anyway.
Okay, so then in case of point, if it's not, I understand when the town is placing a bike rack, right? We are placing our bike racks, and our traffic bylaw will be referencing placement of a bike rack needs to be conducive to the flow of the street. Is that correct, council, that I'm making this amendment to this
Sure.
bylaw? Or am I?
Yep.
Yes, so the bike racks that we are placing on the public sidewalk, outside of patios, would have bikes going north-south.
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
So does that include all bike racks? I'm serious, like,
Yeah, I know.
Or we go to all town approved bike racks, how's that? I'm just saying, they all have to fit within that, they have to. We can't have bikes going east to west, down to north and south, in any circumstance.
Okay,
No,
what
I
I
see
was
the
pointing out,
slide around there, I'm just saying.
No, well, that's what I'm
This
trying to
just has to
determine.
be,
Main
yeah.
Street,
What slide? I'm not.
what's,
What am I
okay,
missing here?
on Main Street, any bike racks that are on the public sidewalk, outside of patios, so they're areas where people are moving freely, need to face north-south. If somebody chooses to put a bike rack within their patio license,
Give me an example of the current bike rack that's out there then.
Okay.
How does that work?
if that individual chooses to take a patio license and put the fencing up around it, the direction of the bikes in that bike rack are not impeding a public sidewalk and can go in
Yeah.
whichever direction
So-
that business owner wishes to have it.
So if they put physical fencing around,
Yes, if they follow the rules of the patio bylaw,
which is physical fencing,
yes.
Or ropes.
Yeah.
Or ropes,
Yeah.
There has to be.
Then we should not be in a position to dictate which direction it goes. There is no public safety concern.
correct, yeah.
Okay.
Is there anything else about bikes or patios that we need to deal with?
So since we're opening the bylaws, Schedule A for patio bylaws, everyone's fine with the costs?
Yes.
Okay.
And while you're on that, clarify sidewalk patio, meaning the placement of tables and or chairs on a public sidewalk. So when you say patio license, that, it's a patio. Take it out if you want, but
No, I'm just asking what you're saying, Councilor Jarvis, I didn't.
while you're on that list, a patio sidewalk means the placement of tables and or chairs on a public sidewalk. So,
Sorry, Councilor Jarvis, what number is that?
it is on the second, it's in definitions.
Oh, right near the top?
Yeah, no, near the bottom of the second page.
Okay, okay, hold on. And sorry, which one was that?
Sidewalk patio means the placement of tables and or chairs on a public sidewalk.
Or bike racks?
Put bike rack in there then.
Yeah.
Put Volkswagen.
That'll solve the problem.
And so if bouncy castles want to be placed, am I rewriting?
Don't laugh, that was there.
I'm
Don't
just,
laugh, that was
no,
there.
I'm
There's a
asking,
sandbox in one.
I'm asking, so patio sidewalk means the place, am I being specific?
Well,
or
in the past,
structures?
there's been numerous things that have been in the patio bylaw, and I just mentioned that you were in
Yes.
chest, but there was a sandbox and a kid's coloring table in one once. You know, it has to be bigger than, and it solves the problem, put the bike rack in there.
Okay.
Or exclude that, take it right out. When you buy a patio license, as indicated also in chest, if you wanna put a Volkswagen in there, put a Volkswagen in there.
So can we just take that clause out?
Yeah, just take it right out.
I'll take the clause right out.
Yeah.
Well, I think that having the definition of what the bylaw is required, council. If it's a sidewalk patio, what is it that's being referenced in throughout your bylaws? So we can just not be non-specific with structures within the area that is fenced,
Then put bike rack in,
which would
I think you have
be
to.
all encompassing of
And that'll
structures.
solve that problem.
Well, not really, because then someone's gonna say, well, so how come they can have a bike rack and I can't have a sandbox?
Well, I don't know, but you agree with the sandbox, and it was like 4 years ago, there
So
was a sandbox.
council does not approve sandboxes I need, what are we?
Well, I would think that, like, I fail to see what the issue is with a sandbox in a controlled area. They've, you know.
The point is more for me, do we then now have to sit and outline every possible thing that someone can put in their patio? And that just feels very onerous.
Is there items though that are specific
Well, like
that
it
council
says,
is
it
in
says tables and
opposition
chairs.
for?
I mean, a patio's a patio, right?
But we don't want to limit. I believe based on the discussion about the sandbox, some of us don't want to limit them to just tables and chairs.
I'm suggesting if they buy the patio license, barring any selling of nuclear weapons or anything, I mean, they're gonna have stuff in there that somebody's gonna take offense to. I don't want the kid's coloring table in there, you know what I mean? I don't want the bike rack. I say, let it pass. Let's use common sense. If somebody wants to put a bike rack in a patio, they can put a bike rack in a patio.
So where are we going with this, council?
Is there any structures that council would be opposed to located within a patio? Let's look at it that way. Is there opposition for any structure located within the patio?
No? No. Maybe a Volkswagen, but that's it.
Not if it fits.
Okay.
So given that parking is off the agenda for indefinite period of time, And given that I believe we have dealt with everything we can in terms of bike racks and patio license, is it time to adjourn?
Sure.
Be it hereby resolved, the special meeting of council held March 19th, 2024 be adjourned at 12:06 PM.
Thank you. Move, please, Jarvis. Seconder? Kozlowski? You gotta get out of here, Shannon. All in favor? Carrie?
That's it for the day? We're
That's it.
coming back after lunch.
Or four?
Okay, it just says resume and other business.
Well, that was if
That
they
was if the conversation was gonna go any longer.
just being prepared.
Sure. And we're back here at what time on Thursday?
10 o'clock,
9?
9? I thought 10.
I believe it's 10.
Do you still have to do the adjournment resolution?